At 6:12, the morning after Leah Mercer inherited the Bellwether Guesthouse, someone knocked with the confidence of a person who already had a key. Leah woke beneath the front desk, wearing her dead grandmother's raincoat. 3 cooking pots collected water around her. A 4th had overflowed onto the reservation book she had used as a pillow. The knocking came again. When Leah opened the door, a tall black woman with silver braids stood on the porch beside a broad man holding an empty wooden knife case. A red-haired woman in purple rain boots waited behind them. All 3 stared past Leah at the dark lobby. "I'm Odessa Bell," the first woman said. "Housekeeping." "Former housekeeping," the red-haired woman corrected. Odessa lifted a ring of brass keys. "I heard Evelyn's other grandchildren took the money." The man looked at the bucket near Leah's bare foot. "Anne left you the leaks." It had taken less than a day for the story to travel. Leah tightened the raincoat over her pajamas. "What do you want?" Odessa studied her face, as if trying to find Evelyn somewhere in it. "That depends," she said. "Are you keeping this place, or are you the one who came back to finish killing it?" 18 hours earlier, Grant had placed a yellow legal pad in the middle of Evelyn's dining room table and drawn one vertical line down the page. "Cash," he wrote on the left. "House," he wrote on the right. "There," he said. "That's the clean version." Grant liked clean versions. He wore a white dress shirt to handle dusty boxes and had rolled the sleeves exactly twice, so the cuffs sat the same distance below both elbows. His wedding ring was missing, but the pale band of skin beneath it remained. Leah noticed and then pretended not to. In the Mercer family, concern offered at the wrong time could be prosecuted as intrusion. Camille sat across from him, scrolling through photographs she had taken of Evelyn's china. She wore black from the funeral, although the funeral had been 4 days ago, and Camille's particular black dress had small shoulder pads that made grief look executive. Leah remained standing. The ceiling above them was blotched the color of weak coffee. A damp thread hung from one corner. Evelyn used to call that room the heart of Bellwether, which had always embarrassed Leah. Hearts were not supposed to contain 12 mismatched chairs, a broken upright piano, and an air conditioner that coughed whenever someone used the toaster. Grant tapped the cash column. "Camille and I split what's liquid. You take the property, the contents that belong to the business, and the operating liabilities." "Operating," Leah repeated. "It hasn't operated in 18 months. "Exactly, limited liabilities." Camille looked up. "That is not how the word liabilities works. You know what I mean?" "I do. I'm helping Leah not know." Grant set down his pen. "Can we not?" Leah picked up the legal pad. Under house he had listed roof, boiler, plumbing, insurance, taxes. The word taxes had been underlined twice. Under cash, there was only a number. It was not a shocking number. No one could buy an island or disappear to France with it. But half would erase Grant's credit card debt, if he still had the debt he once denied having. Half would give Camille the deposit she needed for the condominium she had been showing everyone on her phone. For Leah, even a third of it would mean she could stop counting the days between her warehouse paycheck and the automatic withdrawal for her car insurance. It would mean finishing the last semester of her associate degree. It would mean a security deposit on an apartment where rain stayed outdoors. "What happens if I say no?" she asked. "We list Bellwether," Grant said. "Sell it as is, settle everything, divide what remains." Camille placed her phone face down. "That could take a while." "How long?" Grant gave the tiny lift of one shoulder that meant the truthful answer would be inconvenient. "Depends on the buyer." There were still circles on the dining room table from the water glasses after Evelyn's memorial. Leah rubbed one with her thumb. "You both want to sell it." "I want the option that doesn't require us to become innkeepers," Camille said. "I can barely keep a fern alive." "You don't own a fern?" "Exactly. Excellent track record." Leah almost smiled. Camille saw it and smiled back for half a second, and there they were, the 3 of them before Evelyn got sick, before every conversation became an inventory of who had done too much and who had not done enough. Then Grant pushed the legal pad closer. "The house gives you somewhere to live," he said. "That matters. I have somewhere to live. You're sleeping in Evelyn's old room? Because I was taking care of Evelyn. No one said you weren't." The sentence sat between them in its familiar disguise. Grant could make a denial sound exactly like an accusation. Camille began collecting the china photographs into a folder. "The truth is, you've always been more attached to this place than we are. That isn't the same as being able to afford it." "No," Camille said, "but you haven't exactly shown that money is your thing." Leah looked at her. Camille's mouth tightened. I meant steady income. You meant money, I meant both. Grant leaned back and pressed his fingers to his eyes. This is why I wanted to do it with the attorney present. No, you didn't, Camille said. You said she bills in 6-minute increments and breathes too slowly. That was an observation. Leah walked to the window. Across the yard, the bellwether's porch dipped toward the riverside. Beyond the live oaks, the Pamlico, was a wide gray strip beneath a colorless sky. The guest house had once been pale yellow, but wind and salt had worn it down to something closer to old teeth. 2 shutters were missing. Another hung crooked beside room 4. Evelyn had brought Leah there when Leah's engagement ended. She had arrived at 23 with a plastic laundry basket, a bruised sense of judgment, and $94 in checking. Evelyn had opened room 9, put clean sheets on the bed, and said, "You can be ashamed after supper. I made too much chicken. No lecture, no deadline." Leah had stayed, first because Evelyn's arthritis worsened, then because she started forgetting burners, then because leaving became harder to imagine than remaining. Grant called every Sunday at 7. Camille mailed expensive lotions Evelyn forgot to use. They loved her. Leah knew they did. Love was not the disputed part. The disputed part was what love was allowed to cost. How much did the appraiser say? Leah asked. Grant named a figure, and after repairs, he couldn't estimate that. After taxes, they come off the value, obviously. After I make 5 rooms safe enough that nobody dies in them, Camille sighed. Leah, no, I'm asking, because you keep saying this is clean. Grant stood. It is cleaner than fighting over it for 6 months. There it was, not fair, not kind, cleaner. Leah turned back to the river. A gull landed on the porch rail, reconsidered, and immediately left. If I take it, you take the cash and you're done, she said. Grant exchanged a glance with Camille. With the estate division, he said, no coming back next year saying you still own 1/3 of the house. That isn't how it would work. I want to hear you say it. Camille answered first. If you take Bellwether, Bellwether is yours. Grant nodded. Assets, liabilities, all of it. The sensible choice was to refuse. Leah could hear Evelyn saying so, which was irritating because Evelyn had ignored sensible choices with great enthusiasm for 78 years. The house was too big. Leah had no savings worth naming. She knew how to change sheets with hospital corners and coax an old woman into taking blood pressure medication. She did not know boilers, bookings, commercial insurance, or whether the porch could survive one more hurricane season. She also knew that if they listed Bellwether, she would spend every showing apologizing to strangers for its smell. Okay, she said. Grant blinked. Okay what? I'll take the house. Camille stared at her. For one startling moment, she looked less relieved than frightened. Leah, you understand we're not going to be able to keep putting money into it. You haven't put money into it. We paid for the emergency plumber in January. Evelyn paid you back. That isn't the point. It's exactly the point. Grant reached for the pen. Let's not turn this into another accounting of who did what. Leah laughed once. You brought a legal pad. They signed the preliminary division that afternoon. Grant made photographs of every page. Camille checked the boxes containing Evelyn's personal things, marking each with colored tape. Blue for Grant, green for Camille, white for donation. Nothing was marked for Leah. She noticed only after Camille taped the cedar chest shut. I thought that stayed here, Leah said. The chest was Mom's favorite. It was in Evelyn's room for 30 years, and she left personal possessions to all 3 of us. Leah rested her hand on the lid. The wood was scarred where Evelyn had once set down a curling iron while it was still hot. What are you going to do with it? Camille looked offended. Keep it. Where? I'll find somewhere. You live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Not for long. The cash. Of course. Grant came through carrying the brass lamp from the parlor, its cord dragged behind him. That's part of the guest house, Leah said. It belonged to Granddad. It has been on the registration desk since 1989. Then it's had a good run. By 5, the dining room looked robbed. Pale rectangles marked the walls where family photographs had hung. The cedar chest was wedged into Camille's rented cargo van between boxes of china and linens. Evelyn had considered too nice for guests. Grant took the river map, 3 lamps, the silver coffee service, and a side table with 1 short leg. He left the upright piano. Generous, Leah said. It weighs 600 pounds. So does your sense of fairness." He looked at her for a long moment, then surprised her by laughing. It escaped him unwillingly, a small, broken sound. He covered his mouth, and for an instant, Leah thought he might cry. Instead, he reached into his pocket and placed Evelyn's front door key on the table. "You don't have to prove anything," he said quietly. "That's convenient, I mean it. If it's too much, sell it. Would you?" He looked around at the stripped room. Yes. At least that was honest. Camille hugged Leah beside the van. She smelled like Evelyn's lavender lotion, the expensive kind she had mailed every Christmas. "Call if you need something," she said. Leah glanced at the boxes. "Like a lamp?" Camille released her. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Make it impossible to leave without feeling like a terrible person." Leah watched her climb into the driver's seat. She wanted to say that Camille had managed it anyway, but the words arrived too late. Their vehicles rolled down the shell driveway one after the other. Camille's van first, Grant's SUV behind it. Neither stopped at the road. Leah stood alone until the dust settled. Then the power went out. The storm arrived after midnight. Rain found the roof above room 6, traveled inside the wall, and came through the dining room ceiling in 4 separate places. Leah moved pots beneath 3. The 4th leak appeared over the stripped registration desk, where no lamp remained to illuminate it. At some point, she lay down wearing Evelyn's raincoat and told herself she was only resting her eyes. At 6:12, the knocking began. Now, Odessa Bell stood on the porch with 2 strangers and Evelyn's keys in her hand, waiting to learn what kind of Mercer Leah intended to be. Behind her, the rain had stopped. Inside, something heavy crashed in the kitchen. Leah turned toward the sound. Odessa did not. "Pan rack," she said. Thomas winced. "Told Evelyn those anchors were done." "You told her a lot of things. I was right about a lot of things." Marianne leaned around them to peer through the doorway. "Do we wait for the rest of the building to fall, or is she inviting us in?" Leah had not decided. Odessa's question still pressed against her. What kind of Mercer was she? The exhausted kind at the moment. The barefoot kind. The kind who had inherited a guest house at 3 in the afternoon and slept under its desk before sunrise. "You can come in," she said, "but I need to know why you're here." "We told you," Odessa said. "Our things. All 3 of you showed up together at 6 in the morning to collect things you left 18 months ago." 5:50, Thomas said. "We waited in the truck because Odessa said 6 was civilized. She said 6:05, Marianne told Leah. "Thomas has been eating boiled eggs since 5:48. I get hungry under pressure." Odessa wiped her boots on the mat, though the mat was wetter than her boots. She stopped just inside and looked around. The expression on her face changed so slightly Leah might have missed it if she had slept the night before. Odessa's mouth remained firm. Her shoulders remained square. But her eyes moved from the bare registration desk to the pale places on the walls, then to the empty corner where the brass lamp had stood. "Where's the river map?" she asked. Grant took it. "The lamp? Grant? The blue and white vase? Camille." Odessa looked toward the ceiling. "Did they take the roof by mistake?" "Not yet." Thomas laughed. It was a large, warm sound for such a cold lobby. Odessa silenced him with a glance, but the corner of his mouth stayed lifted. Marianne closed the door behind them. She was younger than Leah had first guessed, maybe late 30s, with rain-spattered freckles and hair the color of a new penny. A canvas messenger bag hung against her hip. She pointed at the reservation book on the floor. "That one yours?" Leah picked it up. A wet crescent darkened the cover. It was under the desk. "That is the reservation book from the last full season. I didn't know. I can see that." Marianne took it carefully, supporting the damaged spine with both hands. Leah felt as though she had been caught using a family Bible to level a table. "Nothing's written in it now," Leah said. "That isn't what makes old reservations useful. What does? Knowing who came back, knowing who hated room 2 because the bathroom fan rattled, knowing who needed an extra pillow under her knees and who said he was allergic to feathers when he actually just liked complaining." Thomas removed his cap. His hair was flattened on one side. "Mr. Rourke." "Every April," Marianne said, "sent eggs back for being too round." "Eggs are round," Leah said, "not to Mr. Rourke." Odessa had already crossed the lobby. She crouched beside the nearest pot, waited for a drip, then moved it 6 inches toward the staircase. "That leak spreads inside the plaster," she said. Where you see it isn't where it lands. Leah watched the next drop strike the center of the pot. How did you know that? Because it has leaked since Hurricane Irene. You worked here that long? Odessa stood. I worked here 22 years. There was something wrong with the way Leah had asked. She heard it after the fact, the surprise, as if Odessa had been a temporary figure in a place Leah considered part of her own history. I didn't mean you did. You just didn't know you did. Thomas stepped between them without appearing to. Kitchen. He headed down the hall, moving quickly for a man his size. Marianne followed with the damp reservation book. Odessa waited until Leah went first. The smell reached them before the room did. Wet plaster, rust, and the mineral stink of soaked insulation. Half the wooden rack had pulled loose from the ceiling. One end rested on the prep table. The other hung at an angle, suspended by a chain and a single black screw. 3 aluminum saucepans lay on the floor. A lid spun slowly beneath the sink. Thomas stared at the wreckage. My cast iron isn't there? Congratulations, Marianne said. No, I mean, it's gone. Camille had taken cookware, but only the copper-bottom pieces Evelyn hung for decoration. Grant claimed the carving set. Neither wanted anything that required seasoning or weighed more than a table lamp. Leah opened the lower cabinets. They smelled of mouse droppings and old fryer oil. Thomas knelt beside her, shifted a stack of baking sheets, and reached all the way into the back. His hand emerged black with dust. Somebody moved them. Odessa opened the pantry, bottom shelf. He crossed the kitchen and stopped. 3 cast iron skillets had been wrapped in yellowing dish towels and stacked beneath a chipped enamel stock pot. Thomas lifted the smallest one. His thumb found a mark on the handle, and his face softened. My mother gave me this when I got my first apartment, he said. Leah looked away, embarrassed to have witnessed the tenderness. You left them here? She asked. I was coming back Monday. The kitchen went quiet. Thomas placed the skillet on the counter with more care than the counter deserved. Evelyn closed on a Thursday, Marianne said. She told the weekend guests there was a problem with the water heater. We thought we had 3 days to sort it out. She fell Friday morning, Leah said. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks. We know. I brought her home. We know that too. Leah faced them. Then you know why she couldn't reopen. Odessa folded her arms. We know why Evelyn couldn't. The distinction landed hard. Leah had been sleeping in 2-hour stretches then. She remembered medication alarms and insurance calls. Evelyn's walker catching on the bathroom threshold. Soup cooling untouched beside the bed. Bellwether's closed rooms had become a single sealed problem she could not survive opening. What were you expecting me to do? She asked. No one answered immediately. Thomas began stacking his skillets. Marianne set the reservation book on a dry counter. Odessa looked not angry now, which was worse. We expected someone to answer a telephone, she said. I answered the phone constantly, not ours. I never heard from you. Marianne unfastened her messenger bag and removed a black spiral notebook. I called this house 8 times. When the landline was disconnected, I called Grant. Leah looked at her. Grant? He said reopening was out of the question, and the family had agreed Evelyn needed privacy. I didn't agree to anything. He sounded like a man who enjoyed agreement. That was Grant. Once he had decided what was sensible, everyone else's silence became consent. Odessa pulled a chair upright and wiped plaster dust from the seat. I came by twice. Camille met me on the porch the second time. Said you were overwhelmed and Evelyn didn't want former employees seeing her that way. Leah remembered that afternoon. Camille had arrived with Thai food, sent Leah upstairs to shower, and stayed less than an hour. She had never mentioned Odessa. Evelyn was embarrassed, Leah said. She didn't want guests seeing her. We weren't guests. I know. Do you? The question had no good answer. Leah sat on the edge of the prep table. Cold air slipped through the cracked window behind her. I thought you all quit. Thomas stopped wrapping the second skillet. Quit? Grant said the staff moved on once the bookings dried up. Marianne gave a short, humorless laugh. Grant was very productive for someone who never came here. Odessa's face closed. We didn't move on. We were moved. Leah rubbed her palms against the raincoat. She could feel Evelyn's old grocery receipt in one pocket, folded into a square. For months, Leah had resented 3 people she had never met for disappearing when Evelyn needed them. It had been easier than resenting Grant and Camille, who called often enough to remain innocent. I'm sorry, she said. Odessa lifted one shoulder. Sorry is a beginning. People mistake it for an ending. Her phone buzzed on the table. All four looked at it. A message from Grant filled the screen. Transfer is complete. Remember to call insurer today. Weather coming in again Tuesday. Beneath it was another. Also check property taxes. Not trying to nag. Leah turned the phone face down. Marianne noticed. They already took the money? It transferred this morning, and you took this. Her eyes traveled around the damaged kitchen. Yes. Why? Leah could have given the answer Grant would expect. Housing. She could have said Evelyn or loyalty or home. Instead, she looked at the hanging pan rack and said, because they were so sure I couldn't. Odessa made a quiet sound in her throat. That, she said, is a terrible reason to own a guest house. I'm collecting those. Terrible reasons? Apparently. Thomas carried his skillets toward the door, then paused beside the stove. It was a commercial 6-burner range, old enough that Evelyn had named it Earl. He turned one knob. Nothing happened. Gas is off, Leah said. That is one interpretation. What's another? Earl has finally gone toward the light. Marianne smiled despite herself. He always was dramatic. Thomas crouched to examine the line, then seemed to remember he no longer worked there. He stood and wiped his hands on his jeans. My knife case is in the locked cabinet beside the walk-in, he said. The walk-in works? No. Anything in this house work? The doorbell, Odessa said. I heard knocking. The bell sticks when it rains. Odessa led Leah upstairs. She did not use the brass keys. She waited at each locked door for Leah to open it. A courtesy so deliberate, it felt like a reprimand. Room 2 smelled stale but dry. Room 3 had a dark patch beneath the window. In room 4, the plaster had separated from the wall in a bulge as round as a pregnant moon. Odessa pressed nothing, touched nothing. She simply looked. Don't sleep under that, she said. I'm not planning to. People don't plan to be under ceilings when they fall. That's the trouble. At the end of the hall, she opened the linen room door with one of her keys before Leah could try hers. You said you came for a sewing machine, industrial Singer. Evelyn let me keep it here because my apartment floor complained. The machine stood beneath a canvas cover, its black iron table surrounded by collapsed shelves. Odessa pulled away the cover and ran her fingertips along the wheel. You made the curtains? Leah asked. Curtains, pillow covers, dining linens. Those ridiculous little cloth bags Evelyn put soap in. I hated those. So did I. She said they looked personal. They looked like soap wearing a bonnet. Odessa's laugh came out before she could stop it. She turned it into a cough. Leah touched the hem of the nearest curtain. Tiny stitches ran in an even line along the faded blue fabric. How are you moving the machine? Thomas brought a dolly. It'll sink into the hall carpet. I know what the carpet does. Right. Odessa looked at her. You say that when you want people to forget you didn't know something? Leah withdrew her hand. You always this friendly before breakfast? No. Usually I've been paid by now. Downstairs, Marianne called Odessa's name. They found her in the lobby with her phone against one ear and the damp reservation book open on the desk. Thomas stood beside her, his cast iron packed in a cardboard box. No, ma'am, Marianne was saying. Bellwether is not currently taking reservations. A voice chattered faintly through the phone. I understand you stayed before. Yes, I remember you. Room 8, 6 weeks. Marianne glanced at Leah. No, Evelyn has passed. Her expression changed as she listened. Thank you. I'll tell her granddaughter. Leah stepped closer. Who is it? Marianne held up one finger. When do you start at the hospital? She asked. And what date would you need the room? Odessa's eyes shifted to Leah. Marianne listened, wrote 2 dates in the margin of her notebook, and said, I can't promise anything. I said I can't promise, Loretta. She ended the call. Respiratory therapist, she said. She stayed here twice. Starts a temporary assignment in 5 weeks. Thomas looked toward the ceiling. Not under room 6, she doesn't. I told her we're closed. We are, Leah said. Marianne slipped the phone into her bag. That number used to belong to Bellwether. I kept it when the business account ended. People still call once in a while. How many? Not enough to fix this? That isn't what I asked. Marianne regarded her for a moment. 3 last month. 2 this month, counting Loretta. The house made a soft ticking sound as water moved through its walls. Leah looked at the three former employees who had returned for what was theirs. Then, at the empty registration desk her siblings had left behind. If someone wanted to open one room, she said, just one, what would it take? Odessa's gaze dropped to Leah's bare feet. First, she said, she'd put on shoes. Leah found one sneaker beside the desk, and its mate beneath Evelyn's wheelchair ramp, soaked through. She returned wearing the dry sneaker and one of Evelyn's green gardening clogs. Odessa looked down. The shoe situation is temporary, Leah said. I'm relieved to hear you have a plan. The four of them started in room 8 because Loretta Pike had stayed there before. It faced the river and had escaped the worst leaks, though damp had swollen the bathroom door until Leah had to shoulder it open. Inside, the toilet ran in a thin, constant stream. Thomas jiggled the handle. Fixed, he said. The water began running louder. Unfixed, Marianne said. Room 8's mattress was 12 years old. The window had been painted shut. One outlet pulled away from the wall when Marianne unplugged a lamp. No guest touches that, Odessa said. No person touches that, Leah replied. Guests are people. I haven't forgotten everything. Odessa's eyebrows suggested the matter remained under review. They moved to room 7. It was dry, but the carpet smelled like a wet dog, despite there having been no dog in it. Room 5 had good walls and a bathroom faucet that produced brown water for 3 seconds before clearing. Room 4's plaster bulge disqualified it before they crossed the threshold. Room 3's window frame was soft enough for Thomas to push his thumbnail into the wood. Marianne wrote as they walked, dividing a notebook page into 3 columns. Need, should, pretty. Pretty can wait, she said. Odessa pointed at the stained bedspread in room 7. That is not pretty. That is evidence. Marianne moved it to need. They returned downstairs and stood beneath the chandelier. 3 bulbs were dead, leaving everyone's face unevenly lit. How bad? Leah asked. Thomas considered the question. Are we grading against other guest houses or shipwrecks? Guest houses? Bad. Odessa took the notebook from Marianne. Room 8 needs an electrician, plumber, mattress, linens, working smoke detector, window repair, deep clean, and paint. Paint is pretty, not when the old paint is peeling into the bed. Marianne tapped another line. Insurance has to cover paying guests. You need to find out whether the business license is still active, and the fire inspection was due before Evelyn closed. Leah felt each item settle onto her shoulders. What about breakfast? Thomas looked offended. What about it? Do people expect it? It's a guest house. They expect breakfast. Could I put out cereal? You could also slap them, but neither produces repeat business. Thomas, Odessa warned. What? Bellwether had a breakfast? That was part of why people came. Earl is dead, Marianne said. Thomas glanced toward the kitchen. Earl is resting. He has rested through 2 presidential administrations. He needs a thermocouple. You said that before he tried to burn your eyebrows off. That was user error. That was your face. Leah almost laughed. They argued without caution, stepping over one another's sentences with the ease of people who had spent years in narrow rooms together. She had not known Bellwether contained that sound. During Evelyn's final year, every noise had been hers. Pill bottles, television game shows, the bell Evelyn rang when she needed help. How many rooms did you run before? Leah asked. All 9 in season, Marianne said. Sometimes 6 in winter. Sometimes none for a week. Could one room pay for itself? No. 2? Not quickly? 3? Marianne drew a box around several numbers. 3 could cover their direct costs if they stayed occupied. They would not fix the roof. Odessa handed the notebook back. And this conversation does not mean we work here. I didn't say it did. You asked what it would take. I'm asking for information. Information is work when it comes from 22 years of experience. Heat climbed Leah's neck. I don't have any money to pay you today. Then don't hire me today. The answer was plain, not cruel. That made Leah feel worse. Thomas shifted his box of skillets. Odessa, no. Evelyn got away with calling extra hours a favor because we loved her. Loving her didn't pay my electric bill. I know, Leah said. You don't yet. Odessa walked back to the linen room and returned wheeling the singer on Thomas's dolly. The iron legs left 2 dark tracks in the carpet. Leah held the front door, while Thomas took the weight at the porch steps. Marianne slipped the damp reservation book into her bag. That stays here, Leah said. It needs to dry. I can dry it. With what? Rain. Leah kept her hand on the door. You said it belonged to the last full season. That makes it part of the business. For the first time, Marianne looked impressed. Then she removed the book. You're right. She laid it flat on the desk, opened to the middle, and placed 2 clean dish towels between the wet pages. Change those every hour. Don't put it near heat. Thomas carried the sewing machine down the ramp. Odessa followed him, but at the bottom, she stopped. If you call us, she said, call with a job, not a memory. What does that mean? It means don't tell us Evelyn would have wanted us to help. Leah looked past her at the sewing machine. Would she? Yes. That's why you shouldn't use it. Marianne wrote 3 phone numbers on the back of an old bellwether brochure. Beneath hers she added, paid inventory and booking assessment. Beneath Odessa's, linens, rooms, systems. Beneath Thomas's, kitchen, purchasing, breakfast. Thomas read it over her shoulder. You make me sound very serious. You threatened a woman over cereal. It was a professional disagreement. Their truck backed out of the driveway with the singer strapped upright in its bed and the cast iron on the floor behind the passenger seat. Odessa did not wave. Thomas did. Marianne lowered her window and called, change the towels. Leah did. She changed them 3 times before leaving for her warehouse shift that afternoon. She called the insurance agent from the employee parking lot and learned that Bellwether's old commercial policy had lapsed 10 months earlier. A new policy required an inspection and a deposit large enough to leave her silent. Ms. Mercer, the agent said, I'm here. We can send the application. Send it. During her break, she called an electrician recommended by the agent. He could inspect Monday. The fee consumed nearly half of what remained in Leah's checking account. She booked him anyway. At 2 a.m, Leah stood beneath fluorescent lights, sealing cases of canned beans, while her supervisor, Daryl, watched her put the same label on 1 carton twice. You sick? He asked. No. You look haunted. I own real estate now. Daryl stared at her. It's not going well. He reassigned her to shrink wrap, where mistakes were less likely to be shipped across 3 states. When her shift ended, Leah drove to a 24-hour diner and spread Marianne's 3-column list across a table. She ordered coffee because sitting without buying anything felt dishonest. The waitress refilled it until Leah's hands shook. Need covered most of the page. Leah opened her banking app, closed it, then opened it again as though the number might improve if given a second chance. It did not. The ring was in Evelyn's bedroom, inside a porcelain dish shaped like a leaf. Leah had not worn it in 2 years. She had kept it because selling it felt dramatic and returning it felt impossible. Ben had mailed it back after Leah left it on his kitchen counter in Raleigh. His note had said, I don't want us to remember each other this way, which was a beautiful sentence for a man who had ended their engagement by asking how long she planned to use her grandmother as an excuse not to start her life. Leah drove home, retrieved the ring, and took it to a pawn shop after the owner opened at 9. He examined the stone through a loop. You know you won't get what was paid. I didn't pay for it. Still, he named a price. Leah thought of Ben choosing the ring beneath jewelry store lights, probably checking 3 reviews and a return policy. She thought of Evelyn sliding a plate of chicken across the table while Leah cried too hard to eat. Can you do better? The owner moved the ring beneath another lamp. A little. A specific little would help. He smiled and increased the offer by $80. Leah sold it. The money felt warm from the counting machine when he passed it to her. She tucked it into an envelope and drove directly to the insurance office before she could convert it back into regret. The electrician arrived Monday morning in a van that leaked oil onto the shell driveway. He was a quiet man named Frank who wore blue covers over his boots without being asked. For 2 hours, he opened outlets, tested breakers, and made small sounds that Leah could not interpret. When he finished, he placed red tape over 3 bedroom doors. Those circuits stay off. Room 8? Outlet by the bed is bad. The rest of that circuit tests all right, but I'd replace 2 more outlets and add a detector. How much? He gave her a written estimate. Leah read it twice. It was not impossible. It only felt insulting. What about room 7? Electrically? Better. Smells funny. That isn't electrical? I hope not. She paid the inspection fee from the pawn shop envelope. After he left, Leah took the bellwether brochure from the desk and called Odessa. Do you have a job? Odessa asked without saying hello. I think so. You think? I can pay 4 hours for an inventory of linens and supplies. I need to know what can be cleaned, what has to be replaced, and what 3 rooms would cost to open. At what rate? Leah named the hourly amount she had earned at the warehouse before her last raise. Odessa was quiet. Too low? Leah asked. It's not too low for counting sheets. It's too low for pretending I'll also fix everything I see. Then don't fix anything. Count, inspect, make a list, and tell me what I'm doing wrong. That last item may run long. I'll set a timer. Odessa agreed to come Wednesday at 10. Marianne was harder. She asked whether Leah wanted an assessment or a commitment. Leah said assessment. Marianne asked whether the insurance application had been filed, whether the electrician had come, and whether Leah had checked the status of the business license. I'm doing that today. You forgot. I didn't know it existed until Saturday. Fair. She agreed to 3 hours on Thursday. Thomas could not come until Sunday because he worked mornings at a hotel near the highway and evening prep at a seafood restaurant 4 days a week. You have 2 jobs? Leah asked. 1.5. And you're willing to look at Bellwether? I'm willing to tell you Earl is not dead. For 4 paid hours. I'd tell you Earl isn't dead for free. I need the kitchen inventory too. Then 4 paid hours. On Wednesday, Odessa arrived at 9:55, carrying a clipboard and no sewing machine. Leah had laid every sheet, towel, blanket, and pillowcase she could find across the dining room chairs. The room looked as if laundry had been invited to a conference. Odessa walked among the piles without touching them. Where did these come from? Linen closets, trunks, under beds. You washed them? Some. In what? The washer. The washer that leaves rust spots? Leah glanced at a stack of white towels. Tiny orange blooms had appeared along their folded edges. I thought those were already there. Some were. Odessa picked up the top towel. These are done. They're clean. So are bandages. You don't put guests to bed in them. For 2 hours they sorted. Keep became a short pile. Rags became a mountain. Replace spread across 6 chairs. Leah wrote down quantities while Odessa inspected hems, seams, stains, and elastic. At noon, Odessa's timer sounded. She put down a pillowcase immediately. Leah looked at the remaining piles. You can finish the one you're holding. My 4 hours include the room inspection we haven't done. You really stop exactly on time? When the person paying me can barely afford the time? Yes. They inspected rooms 5, 7, and 8. Odessa chose 7 and 8, then surprised Leah by choosing room 1, a cramped ground floor room Leah had dismissed because it faced the parking area. It has its own bathroom, the windows open, and the floor is sound, Odessa said. Pretty view does not outrank dry walls. Leah wrote room 1 beneath the other 2. At the front door, Odessa accepted a check. She examined Leah's signature and folded the check into her wallet. I can come back next Wednesday, she said, for another inventory, for work. If you've bought supplies. Leah stared at her. You want to? No. Odessa opened the door. But I believe you intend to do this with or without knowing how. I'd rather the sheets survive. The sheets survived Wednesday. Leah's checking account barely did. She bought 3 sets at a discount store outside town, choosing the least expensive white cotton she could find. Odessa opened one package, rubbed the fabric between her fingers, and held it toward the window. I can see your face through this. It's a sheet, not a privacy fence. It'll feel like newspaper after 10 washes. It says hotel quality. It also says 1,200 thread count. This package weighs less than a sandwich. Leah returned 2 sets and spent $40 more on the kind Odessa approved. She kept the open set for her attic bed, where it did, after one washing, feel like sleeping inside an envelope. Marianne arrived Thursday with a laptop, 2 charging cables, and a travel mug labeled "Not the Front Desk." She chose a chair in the dining room, tested it for wobble, then rejected it for another. "Where's the old computer?" she asked. Grant took it for recycling. Did he recycle it? He put it in his garage. So, no. Leah set Evelyn's paper records on the table. There were tax receipts, utility bills, menus, supply catalogs, and boxes of guest cards written in 3 different hands. Marianne did not react with nostalgia. She started sorting. Reservations are not the first problem, she said. Reservations are the reward for solving the first 20 problems. I thought paying guests solved problems. Paying guests create expectations. Money makes them very creative. The old business license had expired. Renewing it was straightforward, though not free. Bellwether still appeared in travel listings, with an outdated photograph in which every shutter was attached and the porch leaned less visibly. Marianne found the listing on her laptop. One review says the innkeeper entered their room without knocking, Leah said. That was Evelyn. Why? She smelled the toaster they brought from home. They brought a toaster? People travel with strange confidence. Marianne built a budget while Leah read numbers over her shoulder. At 3 occupied rooms, modest rates, and no major emergencies, Bellwether could pay utilities, supplies, insurance, wages for limited housekeeping, and part of the tax bill. It could not replace the roof. It could not replace Earl. It could not pay Leah enough to leave the warehouse. If we had 4 rooms, Leah asked. You don't, hypothetically. Hypothetically, if the Moon rented room 4, you'd be booked. Leah sat back. You and Odessa do that. Do what? Answer the question I should have asked instead of the one I did. It saves time. When Marianne's 3 paid hours ended, she closed the laptop. Loretta needs 6 weeks, Leah said. That's steady money. It's also a promise for 42 nights. Room 8 is close. The electrician's estimate is not completed work. I can schedule him. The bathroom door sticks. I can sand it. The toilet runs. I can call a plumber. The window doesn't open. I can, Leah. Marianne's voice was quiet enough to stop her. You are trying to turn wanting into done. Leah looked at the boxed dates in Marianne's notebook. If I wait until everything is done, I won't have money to finish. If you take her deposit before you know you can house her, you're using her money to gamble on your building. The word stung because Leah had already imagined the deposit paying Frank. What if I give her a date when I'll know? That you can do. Marianne called Loretta from the porch. Leah listened through the screen door as they negotiated a decision deadline 10 days away. Marianne did not oversell. She said the room might not be available and offered 2 other local options. When she ended the call, Leah asked, Why did you give her competitors? Because she needs somewhere to sleep, whether we succeed or not. We? Marianne heard it too. She looked annoyed with herself. This is still an assessment, of course. I work full-time at the Harbor Light Motel. I know, you didn't. I assumed you worked somewhere. Marianne tucked the laptop into her bag. Harbor Light pays on time, has working ice machines, and does not allow the owner's relatives to answer business calls. That last one sounds specific. It's one of their best features. Thomas arrived Sunday carrying a toolbox and wearing a shirt embroidered with the name of the Highway Hotel. He inspected Earl with the solemnity of a physician evaluating an unpopular patient. He needs cleaning, 2 knobs, an igniter, and a thermocouple. He needs retirement, Marianne had said. Marianne fears strong machinery. She said it tried to burn your eyebrows. My eyebrows recovered. Can you fix it? I can clean it. A gas technician fixes the rest. The walk-in refrigerator was dead and smelled like something had once crawled inside to reconsider its life. The smaller reach-in unit cooled unevenly. Thomas put a thermometer on each shelf and watched the temperature change. You could serve coffee and packaged pastries, Leah said. He closed the refrigerator. You could. That sounded judgmental. It was grief. I can't open a full kitchen for one long-term guest. No. So we agree. We agree you should not cook for money yet. The distinction mattered to him. Thomas inventoried every pot, knife, serving bowl, tray, and utensil. Camille had taken most of the copper, but she had left 47 saucers and only 19 cups. Why do we have this many saucers? Evelyn broke handles, Thomas said. She'd keep the saucer because throwing out half a set offended her. He opened the cabinet beside the dead walk-in and removed his wooden knife case. It was wrapped in a flowered apron. I forgot this was here. He set it on the prep table and opened it. 6 empty slots lined the red felt interior. Where are the knives? Leah asked. With me. You think I worked 18 months without knives? I don't know how cooks live. Suspiciously. He ran his hand across the empty slots and closed the case. At the end of 4 hours, Leah paid him. He counted the money once, not because he distrusted her, but because wages deserved to be counted. If you get Earl repaired, he said, call me. For another assessment? For a test breakfast? I thought I shouldn't cook for money. You shouldn't. I can make eggs. That's what dangerous people say. Tuesday's storm arrived exactly as Grant had warned. The rain began after Leah left for the warehouse and turned sideways before midnight. She watched it hammer the loading bay doors while her phone filled with weather alerts. At 1, her supervisor found her beside the time clock. "If I leave now, I lose the whole shift?" she asked. Daryl glanced at the rain. "If I say yes, will you stay?" "No." "Then why are we pretending this is a policy discussion?" He signed her out. Water already covered the low section of River Road. Leah drove with both hands locked on the wheel, passing dark storefronts and drainage ditches swollen to their edges. Bellwether appeared through the rain, with one porch light burning. She had left 3. Inside, water ran down the wall above the registration desk. The pots had not been placed because Odessa had moved them to dry after the previous storm. Leah found them in the kitchen, set them beneath the known leaks, and heard a new drip in the dining room. The sorted linens were stacked on chairs below it. No, no, no. She dragged the first chair aside. Water struck the folded sheets. She gathered the dry sets against her chest, carried them upstairs, and piled them on her attic bed. By the 3rd trip, her wet sneakers squeaked and Evelyn's gardening clog kept slipping off. A crack sounded above room 6. Leah stopped. The ceiling held. She closed the door, placed a towel along the threshold, and moved on. At 4 in the morning, she had 12 containers catching water. At 5, the electricity flickered. At 5:15, she climbed onto a dining chair to push a plastic storage bin beneath a leak near the chandelier. The chair's short legs shifted. Leah fell sideways, catching herself against the table. The bin struck the floor. Water spread over the wood. Her phone rang. Grant. She let it ring until voicemail, then it rang again. "What?" she answered. "You're there. Where else would I be?" "At work. Somewhere with a roof." "I have a roof, technically." Rain drummed hard enough to fill the silence. Grant said, "I checked the radar. Thank you for monitoring my weather. I'm serious. Is it flooding?" "Not outside." "Leah." She sat on the floor beside the overturned bin. "The roof is leaking." "How badly?" 12 containers. "What does that mean?" "It means I own 12 containers." "I can come." The offer startled her. "Now?" "When the road clears. By then, I won't need you. Maybe that's when I can come." There was no self-pity in his voice, only a fact he understood about himself. Leah rubbed water from her forehead. The staff came back. "What staff?" "Bellwether's, Odessa, Thomas, Mary Ann." Another silence. "They're working there?" "I paid them to assess things." "With what money?" "My money. You don't have?" "I sold the ring." Grant inhaled. "You kept that?" "Until Friday." "I thought you mailed it back to Ben." "He mailed it back to me." "That sounds like him." "You liked Ben. I liked that he owned a socket set. That is not the same as character." Leah smiled despite the water around her. Grant's voice softened. "Don't spend everything proving we were wrong. Then stop being wrong so loudly. I'm trying to help. You took the dry money and left me a wet house." The sentence came out sharper than she intended. Grant did not defend himself. That almost made it worse. "I'll call later," he said. He hung up before she could decide whether to apologize. By sunrise, the storm had moved east. Bellwether smelled of damp wood, but the power stayed on and the ceilings remained overhead. At 8, Leah called a roofing company. At 8:15, she called another after the first could not inspect for 3 weeks. At 9, she carried the wet linens to a laundromat because Odessa had forbidden the rusting washer. Odessa arrived while Leah was gone. When Leah returned, Odessa stood beneath the porch roof, holding a folded blue tarp. Beside her were Mary Ann and Thomas. "I didn't call you," Leah said. "No," Odessa replied. "Then why are you here?" Mary Ann lifted her phone. "Grant called me." Leah stopped at the bottom step. "How does Grant have your number?" "He had it 18 months ago," Mary Ann said. "Apparently he found it again." Thomas took the laundry basket from Leah's arms. "He said you wouldn't ask." "I didn't ask him either." "We know," Odessa said. Leah looked from one face to another. "I can't pay 3 people today." Odessa handed her the tarp. "Good," she said, "because today we're not working for you. We're protecting the rooms we might work in next week." "That sounds suspiciously like work," Leah said. "It's triage," Odessa replied. "Different shoes." She pointed toward the laundry basket Thomas was already carrying inside. "Those wet sheets go back to the laundromat. Don't dry them hot until the stains are out. Mary Ann will check the guest records. You and I are finding where the water traveled." "And Thomas?" Thomas looked toward the kitchen. "I have been assigned coffee." "I didn't assign you anything. Odessa said. You were about to. He disappeared down the hall. The blue tarp was not for the roof. Odessa refused to let anyone climb onto wet shingles without proper equipment, especially Leah, who still wore one sneaker and one gardening clog. They spread the tarp across the floor of room 6, moved the furniture away from the damp wall, and opened the attic access panel. The attic smelled of dust and wet wood. Leah held a flashlight while Odessa climbed 3 steps up the folding ladder, stopped, and looked. How bad? Bad enough to need a roofer. Not bad enough to become your personality. Water had followed a rafter toward the interior wall. Odessa showed Leah where to place a deep storage bin and how to mark the water level with painter's tape so they would know whether the leak continued after the sky cleared. You've done this before, Leah said. I worked here 22 years. I know. I'm trying to say I'm grateful without making it weird. You're making progress. Downstairs, Tomas found coffee in a sealed can and declared it unfit for human use. He drove to a convenience store and returned with 4 cups, refusing reimbursement because, as he explained, he had purchased coffee for himself and merely failed to stop the cashier after 1. Marianne spread the reservation cards across the dining table. The storm had spared most of them. She separated damp cards with wax paper and aimed a box fan across the surface. Leah saw names she remembered only as voices drifting upstairs. Seasonal workers, traveling nurses, couples who came every year to watch migrating birds along the refuge. Evelyn had known which marriages were strained, who tipped in cash, and who took the decorative soap. You can tell all that from cards? Leah asked. Some of it, the rest you remember. A car door closed outside. Grant entered carrying a shop vacuum in one hand and a dehumidifier under his other arm. His white shirt had been replaced by an old college sweatshirt. Mud spotted his jeans to the knee. He stopped when he saw Odessa. She did not stand. Mr. Mercer, Grant is fine. Grant was fine 18 months ago. I asked him to return my calls. His grip tightened on the dehumidifier handle. I should have. Yes. I thought reopening would put more on Evelyn than she could handle. No one asked Evelyn to run it. You wanted access to the property and payroll when no one knew what was happening. We wanted to work, and Leah was already drowning. Leah set down the roll of painter's tape. I'm in the room, Grant glanced at her. I know. Then don't use me as the reason you ignored them. He lowered the dehumidifier to the floor. I thought if they came back, you'd try to help them keep the place open. You were working nights and barely sleeping. Evelyn couldn't be left alone. Something had to stop. So, you stopped everything. Yes. The word was blunt, almost angry. Grant looked around at the damp cards, the blue tarp, the stained ceiling. I made the decision nobody else would make. Odessa rose then. She was shorter than Grant, but he seemed to lose height when she faced him. You made it from 2 counties away. I was trying to keep my job. So were we. His face reddened. Thomas placed a coffee beside him. Drink before you make the next sentence worse. Grant stared at the cup. Is it poisoned? That costs extra. Grant drank. No one forgave him, but the room became usable again. He connected the dehumidifier in the hallway and helped Thomas empty standing water from the storage bins. Marianne gave him wax paper to cut. For 20 minutes, he worked without explaining why his way was efficient. Leah could not remember the last time she had seen him perform a task that no one could put on a resume. When Odessa and the others left, Grant stayed behind to coil an extension cord. You called Marianne, Leah said. She was the only number I found. You could have called me. You would have said you were fine. I was fine. You fell off a chair. Leah looked toward the overturned plastic bin. I caught myself. You told me there were 12 containers. You sounded like you were sitting in the 13th. She bent to pick up the painter's tape. Grant rubbed the back of his neck. I'm sorry I didn't tell you they called. Why didn't you? I told you. I knew you'd try to save the place. You say that like it's a character defect. It can be. He looked tired. Without his pressed shirt and careful cuffs, Leah could see how much older he had become during Evelyn's illness. There was gray at his temples she had assumed was reflected light at the funeral. What happened to your ring? She asked. Grant's hand closed reflexively. Not today. Okay. That surprised him more than the question. He left the shop vacuum and dehumidifier. Leah tried to refuse, but he said they had been in his garage for 6 years, and Camille would describe removal as an act of service. The roofing estimate arrived Friday. Full replacement was impossible. Even the temporary repair made Leah sit on the porch steps and calculate how many warehouse shifts existed between now and death. The roofer offered to seal the two worst sections, replace damaged flashing, and return before hurricane season with a larger plan. Leah paid the deposit. The money came from her savings, not the ring. She made the distinction privately, though both amounts occupied the same account, and arithmetic did not care. Frank returned to replace the bad outlets in room 8 and install detectors in all 3 proposed rooms. A plumber freed the bathroom door, repaired the toilet, and informed Leah that the brown water in room 5 came from old galvanized pipe. Dangerous? She asked. Ugly. I can live with ugly, not if you're charging for it. Room 5 remained closed. Odessa returned the next Wednesday and worked exactly 6 paid hours. She stripped room 1, vacuumed the mattress, rejected it, rotated the mattress in room 7, accepted it reluctantly, and taught Leah how to fold fitted sheets without wrestling them into a lump. Leah failed 4 times. Corners go inside corners, Odessa said. They are all corners. That is why you have to choose. This feels philosophical. It's laundry. Marianne built a simple reservation calendar and made Leah create a separate business account. The first deposit into it was $40 Leah transferred from checking. That's depressing, Leah said. It's clean. Grant's word made her flinch. Marianne noticed. Clean books are not the same as clean choices. Leah transferred another $20 out of spite, though she could not say at whom. The gas technician repaired Earl for less than the written estimate and more than Tomas had predicted. When the burners caught, blue flames circling beneath the heavy black grates, Thomas stood with both hands on his hips. See? Your eyebrows seem nervous, Leah said. They're emotional. He came Sunday for the test breakfast. Leah expected him to cook while she observed. Instead, he handed her an onion. Dice. I'm paying you to work. You're paying me to discover what kind of danger you are in a kitchen. She cut uneven pieces. He said nothing, which became increasingly insulting. Some are bigger, she admitted. I was waiting for you to notice. They made soft scrambled eggs with onions and herbs, biscuits from frozen dough, coffee in the old stainless urn, and Evelyn's spiced pears. The pears came from cans. Leah looked at the opened cans. Evelyn told everyone they were her recipe. They were her recipe. She added cinnamon and lied. Thomas heated them with brown sugar, lemon peel, and cloves until the kitchen smelled like cold mornings from Leah's first winter at Bellwether. The smell reached Odessa upstairs. She came down carrying a stack of pillowcases. You made pears. He opened pears, Leah said. Thomas offered her a spoon. Odessa tasted, swallowed, and became very busy aligning the pillowcases on the counter. Too much clove, she said. It is exactly the same amount of clove. Then it was too much before. Marianne arrived with printed rate sheets and found the 3 of them eating at the prep table. She accepted a biscuit while maintaining that she had only come to review the rooms. Room 1 was ready first. It had fresh white curtains Odessa sewed at home on the Singer and billed as 2 hours of work. Room 7 needed carpet cleaning. Room 8 needed paint, where the electrician had opened the wall. The insurance inspection was set for Friday. The fire inspection would follow. The business license application waited on both. Every step revealed another step behind it. At the warehouse, Leah took every available extra shift. She learned to sleep in 90-minute sections and stopped pretending this was admirable. Once, she woke in her car with the key still in the ignition and Daryl knocking on the window. You can't keep doing this, he said. It's temporary. That is what people call bad decisions while they're inside them. She reduced 1 shift, then spent the lost hours painting room 8 with Marianne. Marianne rolled walls quickly but cut corners badly. You're terrible at edges, Leah said. I'm excellent at occupancy. That is unrelated. It's a better paid skill. They finished at midnight. The room looked clean, plain, and smaller than Leah remembered. Rain tapped the window, but no water came through. Marianne sat on the floor with her back against the bed frame. I called Loretta. Leah nearly dropped the paintbrush. You told her yes? I told her we would know after Friday. You said not to promise. I didn't promise. Did she still want it? Marianne picked dried paint from her wrist. She said Bellwether was the only place she ever slept during a night rotation without waking up angry. That's a recommendation? From Loretta, it's poetry. Friday's inspection lasted 80 minutes. Leah followed the insurance representative from room to room, trying not to read meaning into every pause. He photographed the repaired outlets, the detectors, the temporary roof work, and the closed doors marked with red tape. At the front desk, he completed a form and told her coverage could be issued for 3 guest rooms, provided the others remained closed and the next roof repair was documented. Leah signed before he finished explaining the payment schedule. As soon as he drove away, Marianne called Loretta. This time, Leah stood beside her. "Yes," Marianne said into the phone. "Room 8, 6 weeks, starting on the 23rd. She listened. "Yes, coffee, limited breakfast at first." Thomas, across the lobby, mouthed, "Limited?" Marianne turned her back on him. "No, Evelyn's granddaughter will be running it." Leah's stomach tightened. After a moment, Marianne smiled. "I think you'll like her too." The reservation notification appeared on the laptop before Marianne ended the call. 42 nights, 1 room. The first money Bellwether had earned since Evelyn closed its doors. Leah stared at the amount, then at the 3 people watching her. Odessa picked up a dust cloth. "Don't get sentimental," she said. "We still have to clean it." Cleaning room. 8 took longer than repairing it. Odessa found paint dust inside the dresser drawers, grit along the baseboards, and 1 dead moth beneath the radiator. "Loretta won't look under there," Leah said. "Then the moth will be a private disappointment. They vacuumed it anyway." Marianne brought a printed agreement for Loretta's stay, a rate schedule, cancellation terms, and a list of the things Bellwether would not promise. "No daily housekeeping unless requested," she said. "Fresh towels twice a week. No cooked breakfast Monday through Friday until we have staffing." Evelyn cooked every morning. Evelyn also fell asleep standing at the stove. Leah looked toward the kitchen. That happened once. It happened enough. Thomas could work Sunday mornings and 1 Saturday each month. Odessa agreed to clean rooms on scheduled paid hours, not whenever Leah noticed dust. Marianne would handle reservations for 6 hours a week from Bellwether and continue full-time at Harbor Light. Leah wrote each arrangement down. "You don't need a contract for every conversation," she said. "You do when people care about each other," Marianne replied. "Strangers are much better at remembering they're being paid." Loretta Pike arrived carrying 2 hard-sided suitcases, a grocery bag, and a small white noise machine under one arm. She was 54, compact and silver-haired, with reading glasses hanging from a beaded chain. Her hospital identification badge was already clipped to her jacket. Leah waited behind the registration desk, wearing the only blouse she owned that did not have a warehouse logo. "Welcome back to Bellwether." Loretta set down the white noise machine. "You're Evelyn's granddaughter, Leah. You were upstairs." "It was not a question. I was around. I saw the top of your head twice in 6 weeks. I was working nights then too." Loretta studied her for 1 uncomfortable second, then nodded as if a private fact had been confirmed. "Room 8? Yes. Same mattress? No. Good. That one had a valley." Leah carried the grocery bag. Loretta carried both suitcases despite Leah's offer. At room 8, Leah demonstrated the new lock, the bathroom door, the window, the thermostat, the lamp, the outlets, and the emergency flashlight. Loretta removed her glasses. "Are you expecting weather?" "No." "Power failure?" "No." "Fire?" "Definitely not." "Then why are you narrating the electrical sockets?" Leah stopped with 1 finger beside the wall plate. "First guest," I gathered. Loretta's face softened slightly. "I start nights tomorrow. I need darkness until 3 in the afternoon and very little conversation before coffee. I can do that." Evelyn couldn't. She liked mornings. Evelyn liked witnesses. Leah handed over the key. At the door, Loretta looked back toward the hall. "I'm sorry she's gone." The simple sentence struck harder than condolences delivered beside flowers. "Me too," Leah said. Loretta closed the door. Leah stood outside for nearly a minute, listening for the mattress to collapse. It did not. The first breakfast consisted of coffee, yogurt, packaged muffins, and pears Thomas had prepared the day before. Leah arranged everything on the sideboard at 5:30, though Loretta had said she would not begin night shifts until the following evening. Loretta came down at 8 and stared at the spread. "You know I'm one person. There may be staff. Hospital staff, Bellwether staff." Odessa entered carrying clean towels. Loretta looked at her. "Well, I'll be." Odessa set the towels down. "You still stealing sweetener packets? I take what the rate includes." "You took 36. I was here 6 weeks. 16 would have been suspicious." 36 was inventory. They hugged in the middle of the dining room. Leah turned toward the coffee urn so they would not see her watching. Odessa's arms tightened around Loretta only once, then released. "Thomas back?" Loretta asked. "Limited hours," Leah said. "Marianne, limited everything," Odessa replied. "Smart woman." Loretta took coffee and one muffin. She did not touch the pears. After she went upstairs, Leah looked at the untouched dish. She didn't like them. "She hates cloves," Odessa said. "Then why did we make them? Other people like cloves. We don't have other people." Odessa lifted the dish, then more for me. Bellwether's second reservation came from 2 bird watchers who had stayed every October for 9 years. Dana Whitcomb and Beverly Shaw were both retired, both in their 60s, and neither accepted Marianne's warning that Bellwether was operating only 3 rooms. "We require 1 room, 2 beds, coffee by 5, and permission to leave wet boots on newspaper," Dana said over speakerphone. "Room 1 has 1 queen bed," Marianne told her. "We are too old to pretend snoring is a moral failure. 1 bed is fine." Beverly spoke farther from the phone. "Tell her you kick. I do not kick. I respond physically to noise." Marianne muted the call. "They'll stay 2 nights, she said to Leah. "Room 1 is ready. Take it. Their old rate is too low. They're returning guests. They're using electricity in the present." Leah approved the new rate. Dana complained for 45 seconds, then booked anyway. Before they arrived, Camille appeared with a floor lamp in the back of her car. "I brought you something," she announced. The lamp had a brushed nickel base and a rectangular gray shade. It looked as if it belonged beside a dentist's waiting room chair. Leah stood on the porch while Camille wrestled it out of the back seat. "Where did that come from?" "My apartment." "You own a lamp?" "I own several lamps. That thing you said was not funny enough to survive this long. I assumed Grant had all of them." Camille carried it into the lobby and placed it beside the registration desk, where the brass lamp had stood. "There. You needed one." Leah plugged it in. The light was white and severe, illuminating every scar in the desk. "It's bright," she said. "You say that like an accusation." "I said 2 words. They were judgmental words." Camille stepped back, then noticed the fresh paint, the folded brochures, and the keyboard Marianne had rehung behind the desk. "You're actually opening. Actually open. To whom?" "A respiratory therapist upstairs." Camille glanced toward the ceiling. "You have a stranger sleeping here?" "That is the traditional guest house arrangement. I mean already. What if something happens? Like what?" "I don't know." "A pipe." Leah looked at her. "Fine," Camille said. "Poor example." She wandered into the dining room. Odessa was ironing pillowcases near the window. Her body went still when Camille entered. "Odessa," Camille said. "Miss Mercer, Camille is fine." Odessa folded a pillowcase down the center. It was before. Camille absorbed that without flinching. "I owe you an apology." Leah had not expected it. Odessa apparently had not either. "I should have told Leah you came by," Camille continued. "I thought I was protecting Evelyn's dignity. Evelyn's dignity survived people seeing her sick. I didn't know that." "No? You didn't ask her." Camille's mouth tightened, but she nodded. "I'm asking now. Can we start over?" Odessa placed the folded pillowcase on the stack. "Starting over is for board games. We can continue better." Camille almost smiled. "That sounds like something Evelyn would say." "It is something I say." The almost smile disappeared. Camille left 20 minutes later after photographing the porch, the lobby, and the new gray lamp. In the driveway, she hugged Leah. "I am glad you're doing something with it," she said. "I was always going to do something. You didn't know that." "No." Camille touched Leah's sleeve. "That's what scares me. You decide after you jump. You and Grant decided before looking. And between us, we occasionally form one functional person." She got into her car. That evening, Camille posted a photograph of Bellwether's porch with the caption, "So proud to see our family guest house coming back to life. Our." Leah stared at the word until Marianne took the phone from her. Do not start a family argument in the comments of a photograph with 19 likes. It has 23. That changes nothing. She makes it sound like she's involved. Are you reopening for her approval? No. Then stop checking whether she approves. Dana and Beverly arrived before sunrise Friday in a station wagon dusted with road salt. They carried binoculars more expensive than Leah's car, and entered Bellwether, whispering as though rare birds might be sleeping in the dining room. Dana stopped beside Camille's lamp. "What happened to the brass one?" "Family took it," Leah said. "Family is often where objects go to disappear," Beverly observed. Room 1 passed their inspection. The bed was acceptable, the window opened, and Odessa had left newspapers by the door for their boots. At 4:50 the next morning, Leah made coffee. Dana and Beverly appeared in matching green jackets, filled 2 travel mugs, and left without breakfast. "They paid for breakfast," Leah told Marianne later. "They paid for the possibility of breakfast. That feels wasteful. Hospitality is mostly charging people for options they hope not to need." Loretta slept through the morning. Odessa cleaned room 7. Thomas came Sunday and served eggs, biscuits, sausage, and pears to 5 people, counting staff. Dana asked for firmer eggs. Beverly asked for softer. Thomas served both from the same pan. "They're different," Dana said. "Emotionally," Thomas replied. For 1 hour, the dining room sounded alive. Cups touched saucers. Chairs moved. Dana described a peregrine falcon she had seen near the refuge. Loretta came in wearing scrubs, ate standing at the sideboard, and told Thomas the pears still had too much clove. Odessa looked triumphant. When Dana and Beverly checked out, they left cash beneath the coffee cup and a note saying room 1 was quieter than expected, and the sheets were much improved. Odessa read it twice. "They noticed the sheets," Leah said. "People notice when work is done. They just don't always know who did it." On Monday, Leah printed the first paychecks funded by Bellwether's new income. The amounts were small. Odessa checked hers, nodded, and placed it in her wallet. Thomas held his up toward the light. "First honest breakfast money I've made in this house in a while. All the other breakfast money was dishonest. Evelyn paid me to make bran muffins. That involved deception. Marianne did not cash hers that day." Leah saw it tucked into her laptop case. "You can deposit it," Leah said. "I plan to. You're worried it'll bounce. I am worried about everything. That is why your calendar works." The first review appeared that afternoon. "The Bellwether is rough around the edges," Dana had written. "But room 1 was spotless. Breakfast was warm, and the people are warmer. It feels awake again." Leah read it at the registration desk beneath Camille's harsh gray lamp. Upstairs, a door opened. Loretta came down wearing her robe over hospital scrubs, her hair damp and her expression flat. "Please tell me," she said, "that cold showers are not part of the historic charm." Leah stood so quickly her chair struck the wall. "There was hot water this morning. I'm glad it had a meaningful final experience." Loretta folded her arms inside the robe. Water darkened the ends of her silver hair. "How cold?" "Pamlico River in January. It's October. The shower is ambitious." Leah hurried to the utility room. The boiler occupied one corner like an iron animal, its pipes knocking softly behind the walls. A technician had serviced it before the insurance inspection and described it as old but operational, which Leah now understood was how professionals said, "It has not failed while I am physically present." The pressure gauge sat near 0. She called the service number taped to the side. The earliest appointment was the next morning. "I have a paying guest," Leah said. "Then she has my sympathy," the dispatcher replied. Marianne answered on the second ring. "Harbor Light has 2 vacancies," she said, after Leah explained. "I can get Loretta a room at the employee rate. She doesn't need a room. She needs a shower. Rooms contain showers." Leah returned to the lobby. "I can move you to Harbor Light until it's fixed. I have unpacked 6 weeks of compression socks. Then I can get you a room there just to shower." Loretta looked toward the stairs. "I can shower at the hospital. That isn't what you paid for. I paid for a bed close to the hospital, and hot water. I won't argue if you won't hover. I'm crediting tonight." "Leah, one night, the room is warm. The bed works." "One night," Leah repeated. Loretta studied her, then nodded. "Fine. But if this makes you bring me another emergency muffin basket, I'm moving." The technician arrived at 7 the next morning, opened the boiler, and removed a valve that looked too small to cost what he charged. The system refilled. Pipes banged through the house. Every radiator began hissing at once. "That noise normal?" Leah asked. "Normal for this system. Should normal sound angry? It's old. Old things object to being asked." She paid the bill from Bellwether's account. The balance fell below the amount Marianne had circled as untouchable for wages and refunds. Leah transferred money from her warehouse, checking to restore it. Marianne saw the deposit that afternoon. You cannot keep doing that. I can until I can't. That is not a business model. It's a bridge. To where? More guests. Marianne opened the reservation calendar. Room 8 belonged to Loretta for another month. Room 1 had 3 open weekends. Room 7 had 2 bookings, both short. We add carefully, she said. Careful does not pay the roof. Neither do refunds after something else breaks. The boiler is fixed. The boiler is 80 years old and now knows we have money. Leah leaned over the desk. What do you want me to do? Close again until every problem is solved? I want you to stop acting like an empty room is an emergency. It is when I'm paying to heat it. Marianne closed the laptop more forcefully than necessary. My 6 hours ended 12 minutes ago. You track every minute? Yes. Because if I stay whenever you panic, I will live here. She put the laptop in her case. At the door, she stopped. Dana's review brought 4 inquiries. I answered all of them. You didn't tell me. 2 wanted rooms we don't have. 1 wanted to bring a dog. What about the 4th? 3 nights in room 7 next week. Leah exhaled. That's good, it is. They stood on opposite sides of the lobby, both embarrassed by how relieved they were. Marianne touched the keyboard on her way out. Careful is not the same as closed, she said. The new guest was a traveling court reporter named Elliot March who carried his own pillow and asked whether breakfast included decaffeinated coffee. Leah bought a small bag, then discovered he preferred instant. He left the unopened bag behind. Thomas used it in chocolate cake and declared the problem resolved. Word moved slowly through the people who remembered Bellwether. Not in crowds, 1 call at a time. A couple visiting for a memorial service booked room 1. A retired surveyor reserved room 7 because Evelyn once let him store a bicycle in the laundry room. A woman named Patricia asked whether Odessa still made hospital corners. She remembers my corners, but not my name, Odessa said. She asked for you by name first. Then why did you lead with corners? Leah grinned. Professional pride. Odessa charged an extra half hour to remake Patricia's bed after Leah did it incorrectly. Bellwether's first full month ended with more money coming in than Leah had expected, and less remaining than she imagined. Insurance, cleaning supplies, food, utilities, wages, repairs, taxes, and card processing fees consumed the romantic portion of every reservation. Leah made a spreadsheet. Marianne looked at it and said, "This is why I make the spreadsheets. The colors help me. Red should not be your most encouraging color. It means I noticed." Thomas added a column titled Biscuit Exposure and refused to explain it. For all the arithmetic, the house began changing in ways numbers missed. Shoes appeared beside the front door. Coffee was consumed before it went stale. A damp umbrella waited in the stand Evelyn had bought at a yard sale. The dining room chairs moved out of their careful rows and stayed moved. Loretta returned from night shifts near 8, ate whatever breakfast remained, and went upstairs while everyone else began the day. Leah learned not to ask how she had slept. Odessa learned to vacuum room 7 only after 4. Thomas kept 1 bowl of pears without cloves. Camille's photograph of the porch continued gathering likes. Then she sent Leah a message. A few women from my professional group are obsessed with the place. Would love to discuss a small leadership weekend. Could be great exposure for Bellwether. Leah forwarded it to Marianne. How many women? Marianne replied. Leah asked. 8, Camille wrote. Maybe 10. We can be flexible. They're all adults and low maintenance, Marianne called immediately. You have 3 rooms, I know. Say it out loud. I have 3 rooms, and 1 is occupied. Camille knows it's small. Camille thinks small means complimentary candles. Leah looked at the gray lamp beside the desk. What if we arranged overflow at Harbor Light for a paid event? Leah messaged Camille asking for dates and budget. The answer arrived after a long pause. I was imagining a collaboration. My group creates content and we would tag the property. Once people see it, bookings could really take off. Leah read it to Marianne. Exposure, Marianne said, is what people offer when they do not wish to expose their wallets. She gave me the lamp. The lamp makes people look deceased. Leah typed, Bellwether can't provide rooms or event space without payment. I can send rates if you want, Camille called, before the message showed as delivered. You think I'm trying to take advantage of you? I think you're asking for free rooms. I'm offering marketing. We have more inquiries than rooms. 4 weeks ago, you had a moth. We still have the moth. Odessa says he's private. Camille did not laugh. I was trying to include you in something. Include me or use Bellwether? That's unfair. So is splitting the cash and coming back for the pretty part? Silence. Leah wished she could pull the sentence back. Not because it was false, but because truth delivered for injury often became less useful. Camille spoke carefully. You agreed to the division, I know. We didn't force you. You made sure selling was the alternative, because it was. And now you want to bring 10 people into a building you thought should be sold. I thought you'd be happy I believed in it. You believe in it because strangers like to photograph. Camille ended the call. The gray lamp seemed brighter after she hung up. Leah refused to apologize first. She lasted 2 days. On the third, Camille sent rates, Leah texted. Camille replied with a thumbs up. No retreat was booked. Grant called that evening, which meant Camille had called him first. I'm not mediating, he said. Then why are you calling? To tell you I'm not mediating. Very efficient. She thought she was helping. She thought 10 tags equaled 10 rooms. She does that. You took her side. I said I'm not mediating. That is Grant for, I took her side, but don't want paperwork. He sighed. How is the boiler? Working. The roof? Still above us? The full estimate? Leah looked at the folder beside the desk. The roofer had returned that morning to inspect the sections beyond the temporary repair. His new estimate included damage he could not see during the storm. The number was worse. I got it today. How bad? Bad. I can look at it. You can look at your half of the cash. The words came fast. Grant went quiet. Leah pressed her fingers to her forehead. Sorry. No, you're not. I'm sorry I said it like that. That I believe. He asked her to send the estimate. She said she would, then did not. The roof did not leak during the next rain, but Leah listened all night anyway. Bookings filled most of Room 1's open dates. Room 7 remained empty during a weekend, when a river festival brought visitors into town. Marianne had blocked it because the bathroom faucet had started dripping from the base. It's a drip, Leah said. It becomes water damage. We put a towel under it. You put 12 containers under a roof. That does not make it a roof strategy. The plumber could not come for 9 days. 3 separate callers asked for rooms that weekend. Marianne turned them away. Leah watched each lost reservation disappear from the inquiry list. In the spreadsheet, the roof estimate sat in red. On Sunday night, after Marianne left for Harbor Light, the old Bellwether phone number rang. A woman named June Halpern wanted rooms for an adult cousin's reunion in 3 weeks. She had stayed at Bellwether every fall before Evelyn closed. 2 rooms, 2 nights. She knew breakfast was limited. She did not care about river views. Room 1 was open. Room 7's plumbing appointment was scheduled well before then. Leah checked Marianne's calendar. Room 7 had a reservation written in pale gray for the second night, with the note, Hold, confirmation pending. Leah told herself, pending was not booked. She told June both rooms were available. The deposit landed in Bellwether's account before Leah could decide whether to call Marianne. It covered more than half the plumber's bill. Leah stared at the calendar. Then she changed the pale gray hold to green. The green block looked official enough to make Leah's stomach hurt. She closed the calendar. 10 minutes later, she opened it and checked the dates again. The pending hold had not disappeared. Marianne had entered 2 names beneath it, Walter and Nancy Bellamy. Leah knew those names. The Bellamys had spent their wedding anniversary at Bellwether every November since before Leah moved in. Evelyn used to put sparkling cider in their room because Walter did not drink and Nancy hated champagne. Pending was not confirmed. Leah left the calendar green. Marianne found it the next afternoon. She came into the laundry room carrying the laptop open against her chest. What is this? Leah was pulling towels from the rust-stained washer. She had forgotten Odessa's warning and now held a washcloth decorated with 3 new orange spots. A booking. It is 2 bookings. June Halpern wants rooms 1 and 7. Room 1 was open. Room 7 wasn't. It had a hold. A hold means held. It said pending confirmation. Because the Bellamys send a check, they do not use credit cards. How was I supposed to know that? You were supposed to call me. You were at work. I own a telephone. Leah dropped the ruined washcloth onto the washer. They hadn't confirmed. I spoke to Nancy. She mailed the check that morning. Then she confirmed after June. Not to her. She confirmed 3 days ago when I told her the room was hers. Heat rose beneath Leah's collar. Why wasn't it green? Because there was no deposit yet. So your colors mean different things depending on who the guest is. My colors mean call me before changing them. The washer shuddered into a new cycle. Leah crossed her arms. The faucet is getting repaired. Both rooms will be ready. There are 3 legal rooms. Loretta is in 8. June has 1 and 7. Where do you intend to put the Bellamys? I could move into the warehouse break room for one night and give them the attic. The attic is not a guest room. It has a bed. So does the hospital. We are not booking it. Then Harbor Light. Marianne stared at her. We can place them there, Leah continued. You said you had vacancies before. They are not traveling here to stay at Harbor Light. It's one night. It is their anniversary. It's still one night. Marianne's face changed. Leah heard herself too late. The warehouse had taught her to reduce impossible things into units. 1 damaged carton, 1 missed shift, 1 night. It was easier than admitting each unit belonged to someone. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. You just did not mean for it to sound like you meant it. Leah pulled out her phone. I'll call Nancy. No, it's my mistake. And what are you going to say? The truth. Which truth? That their room was given away because another deposit arrived faster? Leah looked toward the lobby where the roof estimate remained inside its folder. Marianne followed her gaze. You spent June's deposit. Not yet. You planned to. The plumber is coming. The plumber was already coming. I need money. We all need money. It's my roof. And our names on the service. Marianne placed the laptop on the dryer before she dropped it. I will call the Bellamys. Harbor Light has 1 king room left that weekend. Bellwether pays the difference in their first night. First night, it's only 1 night. Then you are paying all of it. That wipes out June's deposit. Yes. Marianne, that is what your choice costs. She took the laptop and left. Nancy Bellamy did not shout. That would have been easier. She told Marianne they understood that mistakes happened. Walter could no longer drive after dark, so Harbor Light's location near the highway would actually be convenient. They would miss breakfast, but perhaps they could stop at Bellwether before heading home. Marianne relayed this without commentary. They're being nice, Leah said. They are being disappointed politely. Did you tell them it was me? I told them Bellwether made an error. You are Bellwether. The plumber repaired room 7's faucet on schedule. The bill exceeded the estimate because the shutoff valve crumbled when he turned it. Leah paid from her personal account and kept June's deposit untouched. She called the roofer and postponed the next payment by 2 weeks. On the Thursday before the Halpern reunion, Odessa arrived to find Leah stripping room 1, even though the previous guest had left only 40 minutes earlier. Check-in is at 3, Leah said. June asked if they could arrive at 1. What did you say? Yes, of course. They drove 6 hours. They knew check-in was 3 before they started. Leah shoved the used sheets into the laundry bag. Can we turn this room by 12:30? We can turn it by 1:30. I told them 1. Then tell them you were wrong. They're already on the road. Odessa removed her watch and set it on the dresser. I am scheduled until 1. If I skip lunch, I can finish this room and inspect 7. I'll do 7. You missed a hair in the shower last time. It was 1 hair. 1 guest's hair is another guest's stranger. Leah carried the laundry bag into the hall. Evelyn used to turn all 9 rooms in a morning. Odessa went still. The sentence had come from panic, but it had used Evelyn's voice and Leah's authority. Exactly what Odessa warned her not to do. That's not what I meant. Odessa picked up her watch. She did not turn 9 rooms. I know you helped. We turned them. 4 people, sometimes 5. And she asked us to stay late until staying late became proof we cared. I'm not asking you to work free. You are asking me to do more in less time because you promised something without asking me. I'll pay another hour. I have somewhere to be. Then go. I can finish. Odessa looked at the unmade bed. You keep saying yes to guests, then bringing the impossible part to the people behind the doors. I made 1 mistake. No. You made the reservation, changed Marianne's calendar, offered an early check-in, and now used Evelyn to push me. That is not 1 mistake. That is a system. Leah's hands tightened around the laundry bag. Then why did you come back? Odessa flinched. Leah wanted to strike the words from the air. Odessa lifted her purse from the chair. I ask myself that every time someone in this family mistakes my return for permission. She walked out. The front door closed quietly. Leah stood in the hall holding dirty sheets, listening to the washer thump downstairs. June Halpern arrived at 12:58 with her cousin Francine and two more adult relatives. Their car was packed with coolers, garment bags, and a folding card table. "We know we're early," June called from the porch. "Evelyn always let us put food in the refrigerator. Room 1 was ready because Leah had remade it herself. Room 7 was not." The bathroom mirror was streaked, the floor remained damp, and Odessa's inspection had not happened. Leah took their cooler to the kitchen and served coffee in the dining room while she finished upstairs. She checked the shower 3 times for hair. The Halperns were easy guests. That felt undeserved. They played cards until midnight, laughed too loudly, and consumed every biscuit Thomas made. Francine remembered Evelyn's soap bags and asked whether Leah still used them. "No," Leah said. "Labor dispute." Francine laughed, not knowing it was true. Walter and Nancy Bellamy stopped at Bellwether the next morning before driving home. Nancy wore a blue wool coat. Walter carried a paper bag containing 2 jars of marmalade. "For breakfast," he said. Leah met them on the porch. She had prepared an apology during the night, but Nancy began first. Marianne explained. "She shouldn't have had to." "No, I gave your room away." Walter looked past her into the lobby. "Evelyn did that once." Nancy nudged him. "She did," he insisted. "Put us in room 4 with the rattling fan. That was different." "How?" "She was Evelyn." Nancy looked at Leah. "That is how we excuse too much," she said. "She made disappointment feel like participation." Leah swallowed. "I paid Harbor Light directly," she said. "And I refunded your deposit." "That was not necessary." "It was." Walter held out the marmalade. "Are we allowed to come for breakfast?" "Of course." They ate with the Halperns at the long dining table. Thomas made eggs. Marianne poured coffee but spoke to Leah only about guests. The room was full and warm and looked from a distance like success. Leah could not stop seeing the empty chair where Odessa usually sat to fold napkins after service. When the weekend ended, the Halperns left a generous note and requested the same rooms for the following year. Leah did not accept. She closed online booking for 4 days. Marianne noticed before Leah told her. "What are you doing?" "Stopping." "For 4 days?" "For as long as it takes to fix the calendar and write down what I'm allowed to promise." Marianne studied her. "And the roof payment?" "I postponed it. That may cost you." "It already does." Leah refunded the Bellamys, paid Harbor Light, and moved June's deposit back into the reserve where it should have stayed. The business account fell painfully low. She picked up 2 warehouse shifts and did not call the loss temporary. She wrote booking rules and taped them beside the desk. No room changes without checking the shared calendar. No early check-in before housekeeping confirms. Deposits remain available for refunds until arrival. No closed room becomes a guest room because Leah is frightened. The last line embarrassed her. She left it. Odessa did not answer Leah's first call. Leah did not leave a message about Evelyn, Bellwether, the guests, or how much she needed help. She said only, "I was wrong. I used your history here to pressure you after you told me not to. I'm sorry. Your final check is at the desk, or I can mail it." She mailed it the next morning. For the 4 closed days, Leah cleaned alone. She changed the sheets, scrubbed bathrooms, and folded every fitted sheet badly. She saw how work disappeared when done well, and multiplied when rushed. On the 5th morning, she reopened 1 weekend on the calendar. Not every weekend. 1. At 10, the front door opened. Leah looked up, expecting a guest. Odessa entered carrying the mailed envelope unopened. She placed it on the desk between them. "You sent this to the wrong apartment," she said. Leah looked at the address. It was correct. "No, I didn't." "I know." Odessa removed her coat. "Show me the new rules." Odessa read the rules twice. She tapped the line about early check-in. "Housekeeping confirms in writing." "You don't trust my memory." "I don't trust your fear." Leah found a pen. Odessa added, "No owner promises same-day laundry unless owner does same-day laundry. That feels personal. It is written for the owner." She added one more line. "Closed rooms remain closed." Leah watched her underline it. "I already wrote that." "You wrote a paragraph about being frightened. Rules should still work on days you feel brave." The unopened paycheck remained on the desk. "You can cash that," Leah said. "I intend to." "Are you coming back?" "I came back. I mean to work." Odessa capped the pen. "I will work scheduled hours. I will leave when those hours end." If you change a check-in without telling me, the room does not become my emergency, okay? And you do not compare me to Evelyn, okay? And you learn to fold fitted sheets. That one feels punitive. It is developmental. Leah picked up the envelope and held it toward her. Odessa took it. There was no hug, no declaration that trust had been restored. Odessa went upstairs, inspected room 1, and made Leah remove a decorative pillow because its zipper was broken. It was the most relieving criticism Leah had ever received. Marianne called a staff meeting after her Harbor Light shift. Thomas arrived with a container of seafood chowder left over from the restaurant. They sat around the dining table while Loretta slept upstairs. Leah expected a discussion about the calendar. Marianne opened a blank document titled Bellwether Operating Limits. That sounds threatening, Thomas said. It is intended to reduce threats. They established the number of rooms that could be sold, the time needed between guests, who could approve early arrivals, how much money had to remain available for refunds, and what happened if a room became unusable. We relocate at Bellwether's expense, Leah said. If a comparable room is available, Marianne added. And if it isn't, we call before they drive 6 hours. Odessa spooned chowder into her bowl. Look at us, discovering telephones. Thomas raised a finger. Breakfast limits. You have breakfast limits? Leah asked. I do now. 6 cooked breakfasts without help. 10 with help. More than 10 gets a buffet menu agreed 2 days before. We can't sleep 10 people. Staff eat. Staff don't pay. Staff judge. Marianne added it. They opened a second bank account for repairs. A fixed percentage of each completed stay would move into it before anything else was paid. The roof reserve, Leah said. Repair reserve, Marianne corrected. The house contains more than one way to hurt you. The first transfer was $73.11. Leah looked at the balance. At this rate, we can replace the roof in 240 years. Sooner if Thomas stops putting butter in everything, Odessa said. Butter is why guests return. Guests return because we let them sleep. Your side of the business is very passive. The argument carried them through the chowder. Loretta completed her hospital assignment on a rainy Thursday. She packed with the efficiency of someone accustomed to temporary rooms, reducing 6 weeks to 2 suitcases and the white noise machine. Leah waited at the desk with Loretta's final statement and a paper bag of pears without cloves. You learned, Loretta said. Thomas called it culinary surrender. Thomas thinks seasoning is a test of character. Loretta examined the statement. The boiler credit appeared on the first page. You kept this on here. I said I would. I had hot water the rest of the stay. That's generally how repairs work. Loretta placed the paper down. Evelyn would have argued until I accepted a free weekend I didn't need. I can argue if that helps. No, you're less exhausting. From Loretta, it sounded like a blessing. She looked toward the stairs. The house is quieter. We have 6 closed rooms. That's not what I mean. Leah waited. Before Evelyn shut down, she was listening for the next thing to go wrong. You could feel it in every room. Now the building makes noise and somebody answers. Leah's throat tightened. Somebody usually sends me an invoice. Good. Loretta carried her own suitcases to the porch. Before leaving, she put the room 8 key into Leah's hand. I start another assignment in March, she said. If you're still here, I plan to be. Plans are nice. Her car pulled away through the rain. That afternoon, Marianne opened room 8 on the calendar. It booked for the next 3 weekends. One reservation came from Patricia, who remembered Odessa's hospital corners. Another came from a ferry engineer who had stayed at Bellwether during winter maintenance seasons. The third was a woman attending a retreat at a larger inn that had no rooms left. Not one booking came from Camille's photograph. Leah did not mention that. Bellwether's rhythm changed when all 3 rooms became available. Sundays smelled like butter and coffee. Weekdays smelled like disinfectant and the lavender laundry soap Odessa chose after rejecting 5 others. Marianne sat behind the desk on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, answering inquiries with the concentration of an air traffic controller. Thomas appeared on Sunday mornings and occasional Saturdays, complaining that limited breakfast had become unlimited opinions. Leah still worked nights, but she gave up one warehouse shift permanently. Darryl approved the change without asking whether Bellwether could afford it. You look less haunted, he said. I'm still haunted. I have scheduling now. The repair reserve passed $1,000. The roof estimate remained many times larger, but the number in the account began to feel like a plank instead of a wish. Grant arrived one afternoon carrying a folder. Leah recognized her own roof estimate inside it. "You finally sent it," he said. "I sent it 3 weeks ago." "I finally opened it." He sat at the dining table. The room was set for breakfast, though breakfast was 14 hours away. Grant moved a folded napkin aside as if worried he would disturb its schedule. "The full replacement buys you 20 years, he said. "That is what roofs traditionally do. You cannot pay this from room revenue. Not yet. Not for years." Leah remained standing. Grant opened the folder to a page covered in his handwriting. He had calculated projected income, expenses, property value after repairs, and possible loan payments. "You made your own spreadsheet." "I used black ink so Marianne would respect me. She won't." He almost smiled. "If Bellwether establishes steady income, you could refinance," he said. "Pay for the roof, clear the high-interest repairs, keep a reserve. And," his eyes stayed on the page, "and revisit the estate division." Leah pulled out a chair. "What does that mean?" "It means the original valuation assumed this was a non-operating property with major deferred maintenance. It was. Now it's a business again. Because we made it one. Yes, we meaning me and the people I pay, not you. I am not claiming I reopened it. You want money from it? I want to discuss whether the original split still makes sense. The split you designed, based on the information we had. You had Marianne's phone number, you had Odessa telling you it could run." Grant shut the folder. "I did not believe them. That doesn't make their value new. It makes the valuation wrong." Leah felt the old dining room narrow around them. "How much?" "I'm not asking for a check." "How much, Grant?" He named an amount for himself, and the same for Camille. Not enough to destroy Bellwether, if a lender ever agreed. Enough to turn the roof into a larger debt, and Leah's labor into family equity. "You kept the cash," she said. "We accepted the liquid shares. You wrote cash on your side and house on mine. You accepted a property whose eventual value could exceed both shares. You called it a liability. It was. It still is. You just like how the lobby photographs now." Grant leaned back. "My cash is gone." The admission came so quietly Leah nearly missed it. She looked at his bare ring finger. Divorce? Separation? Maybe divorce. "I'm sorry," he nodded once. "Some of the money paid joint debt. Some went to a retainer. The rest covers an apartment until we sell our house. That doesn't mean Bellwether owes you." "I know. Do you?" "I know needing something is not the same as being owed it." That sounded like a sentence Grant had recently paid someone to help him learn. Leah sat across from him. "Then, why ask?" "Because I am afraid, and numbers are how I make fear sound reasonable." There he was again, the brother underneath the legal pad. Leah touched the folder. "I'm not refinancing to pay you and Camille." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "I didn't think you would." "Then why bring this?" I wanted to ask before resentment became certainty. "You were already resentful." "Yes." The honesty hurt less than his clean versions. Grant gathered the pages. At the doorway, he paused beside Camille's gray lamp. "This is terrible. She wants it back if I don't appreciate it. Then compliment it regularly." He left without asking Leah to reconsider. Camille was less direct. She sent another proposal for her leadership weekend, this time with a schedule, a mood board, and a section labeled Partnership Value. The retreat would include 8 women from her consulting network, professional photography, and a dinner in Bellwether's dining room. Accommodation was listed as in-kind venue support. The requested weekend was Bellwether's busiest remaining autumn weekend. Rooms 1, 7, and 8 were booked by returning guests. Breakfast would already be at Thomas's limit. Leah replied with the rate to rent the dining room for a 4-hour private event and a list of nearby lodging. Camille called. "You're charging me for the dining room?" "I charge strangers. I'm not a stranger. Then you already know the roof leaks. The retreat could become an annual event." "Paid annually? Why are you making this ugly? I'm making it an invoice." Camille exhaled into the phone. "I told them the date. I told you the rooms were unavailable. They don't need rooms. Some will stay elsewhere. The dining room is needed by registered guests. For breakfast. We want it Saturday afternoon. That's check-in time. We can work around you." Leah looked at Marianne, who sat across the desk listening. Marianne drew one finger across her throat. "No," Leah said. A pause followed. No partnership. No event. Camille's voice cooled. It's Grandma's birthday weekend. Leah had known the date. She had deliberately not built anything around it because Evelyn hated memorials that required name tags. That doesn't make the building available. I thought bringing people there would honor her. People she never met. People who would hear her story. Whose version? Camille ended the call without answering. Marianne closed the laptop. She's going to come anyway. No, she isn't. You still think rules change people? What do rules do? They tell you what to do when people don't change. The weekend filled the calendar in green. 3 rooms, 6 guests, 2 breakfasts, 1 anniversary of Evelyn's birth, and no event. Leah printed the guest list and taped it beside the operating limits. Underneath, she added one more rule. Family does not create availability. Odessa read the new rule and nodded. That one can stay. Marianne added it to the operating document. Thomas wrote beneath it in pencil. Family may still consume biscuits at posted price. Leah erased it. Censorship, he said. Accounting, same impulse, different shoes. They prepared for the weekend as though Camille were not coming, and as though she definitely was. Marianne printed the guest list, parking map, breakfast counts, emergency contacts, and a schedule showing the dining room occupied by registered guests from 6 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. She placed copies behind the desk and in the kitchen. If Camille arrives, she said, we tell her the event was not booked. She knows that. People hear facts differently when wearing event clothes. Odessa made Leah repeat the sentence. The event was not booked, without apology. The event was not booked, without turning it into a question. The event was not booked. Thomas looked up from a bowl of biscuit dough. Try it like you own the building. Leah gave him a look. Better, he said. Use that face. Camille did not answer Leah's final message. Grant did. She understands, he wrote. Please don't make this bigger than it is. Leah typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. The week before Evelyn's birthday would have been busy even without family trouble. A guest in room 7 left lipstick on 2 towels and took a coffee mug. The radiator in room 1 began clicking at midnight. A delivery driver placed 6 cases of sparkling water on the wrong porch, blocking the wheelchair ramp. The house did not care that Leah had a confrontation scheduled. It required its ordinary work. She handled the radiator, moved the water, and charged the stained towels to the guest only after Odessa showed her the written policy. The coffee mug remained a loss. You can't invoice someone for a mug without knowing they took it, Marianne said. Where else did it go? People put things in strange places. They found it inside the piano bench. Leah opened the bench looking for extra extension cords and discovered the mug beside 3 yellowed hymnals and 1 men's sock. Do we call the guest and apologize? She asked. We leave everyone some dignity, Marianne said. The repair reserve reached $2,800. Leah met with the roofer on the porch and arranged to replace the worst rear section in early spring if Bellwether maintained its current pace. The rest would be patched and watched. That isn't a whole roof, Grant said when she told him. It is the section letting water into room 6. You'll pay more doing it in pieces. I'll borrow less. You may not have a choice after another storm. I'm choosing now. Grant made a sound that meant he had several spreadsheets worth of disagreement. He did not mention refinancing again. Leah gave up a second warehouse shift. Darryl looked at the form, then at her. You sure? No. Good. People who are sure when they reduce guaranteed income concern me. I can pick up seasonal hours if booking's slow. You can ask. That sounds ominous. It's a warehouse. Ominous is our holiday theme. The lost shift frightened her more than she told anyone. Bellwether's income was steadier, not steady. 3 rooms could produce 1 excellent week, followed by 5 empty days. Every check she wrote still felt larger than every deposit she received, but she was no longer sleeping in her car after work. She could eat breakfast before night shifts without forgetting whether she had eaten. Her hands stopped trembling when she held coffee. The house gained something from the decision, too. Leah was present when guests arrived instead of leaving keys in envelopes. She learned which floorboard announced someone approaching the desk and which radiator knock meant air in the line rather than disaster. She also learned that Odessa hummed when cleaning mirrors, Thomas swore at eggs only in Spanish, and Marianne chewed the inside of her cheek when deciding whether to reject a reservation. They were no longer people returning to collect old belongings. They had schedules, keys, and opinions about replacement bath mats. Leah printed their regular hours and posted them in the office. Odessa read hers. What does housekeeping manager mean? It means you're in charge of rooms. I was already in charge of rooms. Now the schedule admits it. Does the pay admit it? Leah showed her the increase. Odessa examined the number, then folded the page once. This is acceptable. That is the nicest thing you've ever said to me. It is the nicest number you've shown me. Thomas agreed to a regular Sunday breakfast and 2 Saturdays each month. He gave up one evening prep shift at the seafood restaurant, then spent an entire morning explaining that this did not mean Bellwether owned his recipes. Your pear recipe comes from cans, Leah said. The can is an ingredient. Marianne resisted a title. I do reservations. You also set rates, manage guest records, answer inquiries, coordinate overflow, and stop me from renting the attic. I do reservations with necessary defensive action. Leah wrote guest services and reservations manager. Marianne pretended not to care, then corrected the capitalization. On Thursday evening, Loretta called. I hear you are full this weekend. Who told you? Odessa. Leah looked across the lobby. Odessa continued arranging brochures. We have 3 rooms, Leah said. Full is not as dramatic as it sounds. It is when there used to be none. Loretta had accepted an assignment in Virginia and would not return in March after all. She said it plainly, as if Leah might confuse a canceled plan with betrayal. I'll come back another time, she said. You don't have to promise. I know. That is why I might. After they hung up, Odessa adjusted a brochure that did not need adjusting. You told her we were full? She asked. How did she know to ask? I may have called. You miss her? I miss her stealing sweetener where I can count it. Friday morning, Dana and Beverly arrived for room 1 with binoculars, wet boots, and a newspaper they had brought themselves. Walter and Nancy Bellamy took room 7. They accepted the same room they had been denied before without making Leah earn their forgiveness in public. Room 8 went to Mark and Julian Sutter, brothers in their 50s visiting for their aunt's memorial service. Mark spoke softly. Julian spoke enough for both of them and asked whether Evelyn's piano still worked. It has 3 notes, that object, Leah said. I only know 2 songs. We may be compatible. By noon, every key was out. The lobby contained luggage, birding guides, funeral clothes, and Walter's canvas bag of sparkling cider. Beverly's boots sat on newspaper. Nancy placed a vase of grocery store flowers on the registration desk because she remembered Evelyn's birthday. You didn't need to do that, Leah said. We know. Thomas planned a small pear cake for Sunday breakfast. Odessa objected to the cloves before he opened the jar. It's Evelyn's birthday, he said. She remains unable to taste it. Then why are we making cake? That was my question. Leah did not want a ceremony. She had spent too many months surrounded by people asking what Evelyn would want, then using imagined answers to do whatever they had already chosen. A cake is fine, she said. No speeches. I had prepared 40 minutes, Tomas said. You can use it to dice onions. At 2, Marianne caught Leah staring down the driveway. She is not here, I can see that. Then stopped greeting her absence. I'm checking for guests. All guests are inside. A car turned into the shell drive. Leah's chest tightened, but it was the florist delivering an arrangement to Mark and Julian. The driver left. Leah returned to folding brochures. Camille's silence began to feel like proof that she had listened. At 3:30, Grant texted, What time should I bring the folding tables? Leah read the message twice. She called him. What folding tables? For Camille. There is no event. A pause. She said you agreed to a shortened program. I said no. She showed me a schedule. I don't care if she showed you a parade permit. Leah, I have 2 tables in my car. Take them home. I'm already near Bellwether. Then turn around near Bellwether. Grant breathed out. I thought you 2 worked this out. You thought that because it let you put tables in your car instead of asking me. I did ask. Just now? You asked what time? Another pause. She has people driving in, he said. I told her not to. What do you want me to tell her? The event was not booked. That will go well. It isn't supposed to go well. It's supposed to be true. Grant lowered his voice. There are professional contacts. She could lose work over this. She can tell them she reserved a venue she never reserved. Please don't do this in front of everyone. Leah looked at the operating rules beside the desk. Grant, if she comes here with an event, I will turn her away. He ended the call. Marianne watched Leah put down the phone. Tables, 2. Amateur retreat. Is there a professional number of tables? 3 in a step-and-repeat banner. At 4, Dana and Beverly returned from the refuge. Walter poured cider into paper cups on the porch. Mark and Julian dressed for the memorial service. Registered guests moved through the house in small, ordinary currents. Nothing happened. By 5, Leah's shoulders began to loosen. Camille had been bluffing. Grant would talk sense into her. They would fight later in private, as families were supposed to. Thomas left after setting Sunday's cake ingredients in the pantry. Odessa completed her last room check and put on her coat. "You want me to stay?" she asked. "No, your hours ended. That wasn't my question." Leah glanced toward the driveway. "No," she said, "go home." Odessa studied her, then took off the coat. "I forgot to inspect the dining linens." "You inspected them this morning?" Memory declines. She went into the dining room. Marianne settled behind the desk with her laptop. "My hours also ended. Go. I have emails. You have Harbor Light. I traded shifts." "When?" "Yesterday." "You thought Camille would come?" "I think people tell you who they are through repeated booking attempts." At 5:20, 3 vehicles turned into the driveway. The first was Camille's car. The second was a white SUV Leah did not recognize. Grant's SUV came last, its rear door tied partly closed around 2 folding tables. Camille stepped out wearing a cream coat and carrying a leather portfolio. 8 women emerged from the other vehicles, all adults, polished and travel-ready. One carried a camera, another held a box of name badges. Grant remained beside his car. Camille smiled at Leah as though they had agreed on everything. "We'll be quick," she said. "I made adjustments." Behind her, one of the women opened the trunk of the white SUV. Inside were catered trays, rolled banners, gift bags, and a wooden sign painted with the words, "Legacy Leadership" at Bellwether. Leah stood on the porch. The event was not booked. Camille's smile did not move. "We know," she said softly. "You've made that very clear." Leah did not step aside. Camille waited. Behind her, the women began unloading anyway. The photographer lifted her camera. Grant opened his rear door, and one folding table slid against the strap with a hollow knock. Marianne came onto the porch holding a clipboard. "The dining room is occupied," she said. "The porch is occupied. The registered guests have use of both common areas until check-in ends." Camille's smile tightened. "We're not asking for guest rooms. We've adjusted the program to a 2-hour gathering, then dinner elsewhere." "There is no gathering here," Leah said. One of the women near the white SUV stopped with a box of name badges in her hands. Camille lowered her voice. "Do you really want to do this in front of everyone? I did it on the phone. You brought everyone. Because I thought once you saw how small this was, you'd stop being stubborn. You brought 2 folding tables. They fold. It's in the name." Grant closed his eyes. The photographer raised her camera again, aiming toward the wooden sign and the porch behind Leah. "No photographs of guests," Marianne said. The camera lowered. Camille looked at Grant. "Say something?" Grant stood beside his SUV with one hand on the folding table. "Leah told me the event was not booked. You said we could work it out. I said I thought you had. You saw the schedule. I saw a schedule you made." The women had stopped unloading. The silence behind Camille became a physical thing. 8 professional adults trying to decide where courtesy ended and participation in a family argument began. A tall woman in a red scarf stepped forward. "Camille, I thought Bellwether was co-hosting." "It is my family's property." "It is Leah's property," Grant said. Camille turned on him. "You do not get to switch sides on the porch." "I'm not switching sides. I'm correcting what I should have asked before I put tables in my car." The woman in the red scarf glanced at Leah. "Were you expecting us at all?" "No," Leah said. "I told Camille the rooms and common areas were unavailable." Camille's face flushed. "I told you," she said to the group, "that there was tension around logistics. You said your sister was nervous about hosting." "I was nervous," Leah said, "that she would do exactly this." Leah: "No. These women drove here because you let them believe I agreed. They drove here because I wanted to honor our grandmother on her birthday." Dana and Beverly appeared in the lobby behind Marianne, both wearing green jackets and carrying travel mugs. Walter and Nancy stood farther back near the dining room doors. The guests did not look angry. They looked trapped, which was worse. Leah stepped down one porch stair, so her body blocked less of the entrance. "I'm sorry you were brought into this," she told the group. "Bellwether cannot host your event today. Marianne has a list of nearby meeting spaces and restaurants. You're welcome to call from the driveway, but we need to keep the porch clear." The woman with the name badges set the box back in the trunk. Camille stared at Leah. "You are enjoying this?" "No, you've wanted to punish me since the estate meeting. If I wanted to punish you, I could have let you start and stopped you after the photographer unpacked." Thomas came through the dining room carrying a tray of glasses. He saw the crowd, reversed direction, then reconsidered and continued to the porch. "Cider for registered guests," he announced. Camille gave a brittle laugh. "Of course. The staff gets to stand behind you while you throw your family out." Odessa appeared beside Thomas. "No one is standing behind her," she said. "She is standing." The words quieted everyone. Leah felt them settle into her spine. Camille saw it happen. Her eyes filled, though her voice remained controlled. "You always get that," she said. "What?" "Someone telling you that staying made you good." "I didn't say she was good," Odessa replied. "Please don't," Leah told her. Odessa nodded and went back inside. Camille looked from the doorway to Leah. "Grandma trusted you with everything," she said. "Her medication, the bank calls, the house, what she ate. By the end, Grant and I needed permission from you to visit. You didn't need permission. You told us when she was tired. She was tired. She was always tired when I came. Because you came at 6 after work and wanted her sitting in the dining room, I drove 2 hours, and then you drove home. I stayed when she couldn't get back upstairs. The women near the vehicles looked away. Leah lowered her voice. "We are not doing this in front of your clients. You already did." "No. I said the event wasn't booked. You're the one making it about who Evelyn loved." Camille pressed her portfolio against her chest. "I took the cash because I thought this place was dead. Fine, I was wrong. You gotta bring it back, and now everybody acts like you inherited her heart and we inherited greed. The cash was not greed, that's not how you talk about it." Leah thought of every time she had said, "They took the dry money." Every glance at the missing lamp and map, Grant's vanished share, absorbed by debt and separation. Camille's condominium deposit. Adult choices, not sacks of stolen gold. "You chose what could leave with you," Leah said. "I chose what I had to stay for. There. That." "What? You make staying sound holy." "It wasn't holy. It was awful sometimes." Camille's mouth trembled. "I know," she said. "That's why I couldn't do it." For 1 second the driveway disappeared. There was only Camille at Evelyn's memorial, straightening chairs no one had asked her to straighten, photographing china because objects behave better than dying people. Then Camille looked toward the lobby. "But this is still my history." "Yes. You don't act like it. History is not availability." Grant made a small sound that might have been a laugh and turned it into a cough. Camille glared at him. Leah continued before sympathy turned into surrender. "You and Grant took the lamps, the china, the river map, and the money. You were allowed to. We agreed. But you don't get to abandon the leaks, come back when the porch is pretty, and call the rooms yours in front of people who paid to be here. We are not asking for rooms. You are asking me to move everyone else's needs around yours. That is what this family did to Bellwether until it closed." The truth landed close to Leah, too. She had done the same thing with the Bellamys, taking fear from one side of the building and handing it to the people doing the work. Marianne stepped out with her phone. "Harbor Lights conference room is available from 6 to 9, she said. "It seats 12. They allow outside catering with a cleanup deposit." Camille did not look at her. "We plan to start now. The room can be ready at 6. How much?" Marianne named the rate and deposit. Camille's expression revealed exactly what she thought of paying for a room after offering exposure. The woman in the red scarf spoke. "That works for me. We can get dinner first." Several others agreed too quickly. Camille looked at them, then at the catered trays. "We have a program built around Bellwether." "You have a wooden sign," Leah said. "The word Bellwether travels." Grant lowered his head, hiding another almost laugh. Camille pulled a credit card from her portfolio. "Book Harbor Light." Marianne did not move. "Please," Camille added. Marianne made the call. The retreat participants returned their bags and equipment to the vehicles. Leah helped none of them unload, but she carried one cooler back to the white SUV after a woman had left it beside the steps. The photographer apologized for raising her camera. Leah told her no harm had been done. Grant retied the SUV door around the folding tables. Camille stood beside her car, directing people toward a restaurant near the waterfront. Her professionalism returned piece by piece. By the time the second vehicle pulled away, she sounded composed. Only the three siblings remained in the driveway. Grant leaned against his SUV. "I'm sorry," he said. Camille laughed without humor. "To which one?" "Both." "That is convenient." "I should have believed Leah when she said no. You should have told her to stop acting like a prison warden." "I don't need him to tell me things," Leah said. "Obviously not. You have a staff for that." "Camille." Leah's voice stopped her. The anger on Camille's face looked less like power now than exhaustion. "You apologized to Odessa," Leah said. "You tried. Then you asked me for free rooms, ignored the answer, and lied to people about an event. Both things can be true." Camille folded her arms. "So, what happens now? I'm banned from Grandma's house?" "It isn't Grandma's house anymore." The sentence hurt all three of them. Grant looked toward the river. Camille blinked rapidly. Leah forced herself not to soften it into a lie. "It's Bellwether," she said. "It's a guest house. People work here. People pay to stay here. I live here. You can visit me when I invite you, but you cannot arrive with a business event because you share my last name." Camille opened her car door. "Keep the lamp," she said. "I wasn't planning to give it back. It looks terrible there. I changed the bulb. That nearly broke through." Camille's lips twitched, then flattened. Grant lifted the rear hatch of his SUV. "What do I do with the tables?" "Apparently they're going to Harbor Light," Camille said. "You can carry them," Leah told him, "as an act of service." He recognized his own description from the lamp and gave her a tired smile. Before getting into her car, Camille looked at the porch one more time. "I did love her, I know." "You say that very easily." "It's the easy part." Camille nodded. She drove away first. Grant followed with the folding tables, leaving shallow tire marks in the shell drive. Leah remained at the road until the vehicles disappeared. The confrontation had ended exactly where she wanted it to end. No unauthorized event, no displaced guests, no photographs turning Bellwether into Camille's accomplishment. She did not feel victorious. Marianne stood behind her on the porch. "You did not apologize for the rule," she said. "I apologized to the people. They were owed one, I know, and you did not let the apology turn into access." "I know." Marianne waited. Leah looked toward the road. "Can you stop evaluating me for 5 minutes?" "No." 3? "I can stand silently." That would be new. Inside, Dana and Beverly had moved to the dining room. Walter poured more sparkling cider. Nancy adjusted the flowers on the registration desk. Mark and Julian had returned from the memorial service and were sitting near the piano. No one asked for details. "I hope we didn't cause trouble," Nancy said. "You booked a room," Leah replied. "That is the preferred kind of trouble." Thomas handed Leah a glass of cider. "You look like you need butter. Is butter medicinal now? It has always been." Odessa stood beside the dining table, her coat still hanging by the door. "You stayed," Leah said. "My hours ended. I know. I made a personal choice." "Is that allowed?" "Occasionally." Julian sat at the piano and tested 3 keys. One sounded clean, one buzzed. The third produced no sound at all. "Perfect," he said. He played the melody of Blue Moon with more confidence than accuracy. Mark joined him for the words, then Dana did, and soon 5 adults were singing in different keys while Beverly insisted they were rushing the tempo. Leah stood near the registration desk with cider in her hand. The gray lamp cast warm light now. Nancy's flowers covered the worst scar in the wood. Behind the desk, the rule about family remained taped beneath the guest list. No one toasted Evelyn. No one gave a speech. Her absence moved through the room anyway. The next morning, Thomas served pear cake after breakfast. He used fewer cloves. Odessa noticed and said nothing. Walter and Nancy checked out first. Nancy held room 7's key for a moment before returning it. "Next year?" Leah asked. "If you have space, I'll hold it." Nancy smiled. "In green?" "In green." Dana and Beverly left wet newspapers folded by the door. Mark and Julian carried their aunt's funeral flowers to the car. By noon, all 3 rooms were empty. Leah closed the front door and leaned against it. The house was quiet, but not closed. Odessa began gathering breakfast linens. Thomas wrapped the remaining cake. Marianne sat at the desk entering payments. Leah looked at them. I can do this part, she said. You can all go home. Thomas glanced at the clock. We are still being paid for 23 minutes, then moved slowly. Marianne turned the laptop toward Leah. Bellwether had completed its strongest weekend since reopening. After wages, food, taxes, and the repair transfer, the profit was modest. It was also real. Marianne pointed to a new inquiry, 3 rooms for a spring weekend. Leah read the note. The group wanted a quiet place near the river. No event, no exposure. They had found Bellwether through Dana's review. Do we take it? Leah asked. Marianne looked surprised. You're asking? It's in the rules. Together, they checked the calendar. Room 8 was already held for Loretta, who had sent new dates that morning after all. Only 2 rooms were available. Leah wrote back and offered 2. Then she moved the weekend from pale gray to green. The spring guests accepted 2 rooms within the hour. They did not ask for a discount. Leah transferred the required percentage of their deposit into the repair reserve, left the rest untouched, and closed the laptop. Marianne watched her. What? Nothing. You're evaluating. I'm enjoying growth. That's worse. The house settled around them. A radiator clicked upstairs. Water moved through the pipes without appearing anywhere it should not. Thomas left with the pear cake. Odessa carried the last bag of laundry to her car. Marianne locked the old reservation book in the office cabinet and gave Leah the key. By 4, Leah was alone. She took the operating rules down from beside the guest list and moved them behind the desk. The line about family remained visible if she stood where Camille had stood. Leah considered removing it. She left it up for 1 more week. Camille did not call during that week. She paid Harbor Light's invoice and cleanup deposit. The retreat photographs appeared online, without Bellwether's porch, Evelyn's name, or Camille's wooden sign. The women posed in front of a beige conference room wall beneath a banner that had been cropped to show only legacy leadership. Grant sent Leah one message. I was wrong, not asking you to respond. Leah didn't. The river map returned first. Grant carried it into the lobby on a cold Tuesday, wrapped in a moving blanket. The brass lamp stood in his other hand. I classified these incorrectly, he said. Leah held the door while he brought them inside. You classified them as things you wanted. That too. He leaned the map against the desk. A pale rectangle still marked its old place on the wall. What changed? Leah asked. I put the lamp in my apartment. It made every other piece of furniture look rented. Most of your furniture is rented. Exactly. He plugged it in. The shade gave off a low amber light that softened the registration desk instead of interrogating it. Leah looked at Camille's gray lamp in the corner. Now, we have too many. Sell that one. She gave it to me. Then compliment it regularly. He hung the river map with Thomas's level and his own socket set. Leah held the bottom edge while he adjusted the hooks. Neither mentioned Ben. When it was straight, Grant stepped back. I am not returning the side table. The one with the short leg? It holds my router. Then it has found purpose. He glanced toward the dining room. Can I have coffee, or is there a rate? Family rate. What is that? Coffee, no event. Grant sat with her at the end of the long table. His separation had become a divorce filing. His cash had bought time, legal advice, and a way out of joint debts. None of those things looked impressive in photographs, but Leah stopped thinking of his inheritance as money he had simply carried off. He did not ask about refinancing. Before leaving, he placed $10 beneath his cup. Leah found it after he drove away. She put it in the repair reserve. Camille waited longer. Her message arrived through Bellwether's booking email rather than Leah's phone. I would like to visit my sister. 1 person, no tables, no photography. Please advise availability. Leah read it to Marianne. She has learned format, Marianne said. What do I charge, emotionally or hourly? Leah offered Tuesday at 4. Camille arrived at 3:58, carrying the gray lamp's original shade. She had noticed in the retreat photographs Leah sent none of that. Leah had replaced the white bulb and changed the shade to cream. You altered my gift, she said. It made people look deceased. That shade cost $60. It was very effective. Camille put the original shade back in her car. They sat in the lobby beneath the brass lamp. Camille did not apologize immediately. She asked about the roof, then the rooms, then whether Loretta was returning in spring. You remember Loretta? She wrote Grandma a Christmas card every year. I mailed them. Leah had forgotten that. Camille folded her gloves in her lap. I told those women I co-own this place. I know. I wanted it to be true for one afternoon. That doesn't make it true. No. She looked toward the river map Grant had returned. I took the cash because a house can ask things from you. Money doesn't call at 2 in the morning. It disappears quietly. Yes. Camille's condominium sale had gone through. Most of her inheritance was now sealed into walls, floors, and a mortgage. She had not wasted it. She had chosen a life that did not need her to catch water in pans. I'm sorry I came anyway, she said, not because it was embarrassing. It was. But because you said no, and I treated your no like the beginning of a negotiation. Leah nodded. Camille waited for forgiveness. Leah let the silence remain ordinary rather than punitive. Thank you, she said. That's all? For today. Camille's mouth tightened, but she nodded. At the door, she turned. Could I book the dining room for dinner sometime? Just us. You, me, Grant. You don't have to book dinner with me. I think I do. Leah considered the guest calendar. January has empty Sundays. Send me the rate. There is no rate. Then I'll bring food. No caterer. I can cook. Can you? Camille looked offended. I own pans. They chose a Sunday. Camille brought roast chicken from a grocery store and transferred it into her own baking dish before entering, hoping no one would notice. Grant noticed immediately. Leah did not expose her until dessert. The meal was awkward, then funny, then awkward again. Grant and Camille argued over who had taken Evelyn's silver coffee service. Camille admitted it was in a storage unit because it required polishing. Leah told her to keep it there. They talked about Evelyn's last year without turning Leah into a saint, or themselves into villains. Grant admitted he had used clean decisions to avoid entering messy rooms. Camille admitted she had sometimes called Leah for updates instead of calling Evelyn, because she could not bear the pauses when Evelyn forgot words. Leah admitted she had made being indispensable into a reason not to ask for help. No one solved their history over grocery store chicken. But when Grant and Camille left, they asked before choosing another Sunday. Winter narrowed Bellwether's business. Travelers canceled when coastal roads iced. The boiler required another valve. The repair reserve dropped, grew, then dropped again. Leah kept one regular warehouse shift and picked up occasional nights when bookings thinned. Bellwether paid her a small draw only after wages, supplies, taxes, and the repair transfer. Some months the draw was enough for groceries. One month it was enough for groceries and new shoes that matched. Odessa approved the shoes and objected to the price. Room 5 opened after the worst section of galvanized pipe was replaced. The water ran clear, and the repaired window no longer admitted wind along its sill. Odessa chose the mattress. Mary Ann set the rate. Thomas placed a wrapped biscuit on the pillow as a joke, then removed it after Odessa explained crumbs. Room 3 took longer. Leah repaired the soft window frame, painted the walls, and found a second-hand dresser that did not smell like someone else's attic. It became Bellwether's 5th open room a week before the rear roof work began. 4 rooms remained closed. Their doors did not shame Leah anymore. They were not failures pretending to be emergencies. They were future work with red tape, written estimates, and no promises attached. The roofer replaced the rear section in early spring. For 3 days, the house shook with hammering. Leah stood beneath room 6 during the first hard rain afterward and listened. No drip reached the storage bin. The blue painter's tape still marked the highest water line from the storm. She left it there. Loretta returned in March for a shorter hospital assignment. Room 8 had a new reading lamp and a blackout shade Odessa had sewn on the singer. Loretta opened and closed it twice. "This is competent," she said. "We try to hide that from guests." At breakfast, she stole 9 sweetener packets while Odessa watched. The former staff were former no longer. Guests called them by name. Returning visitors asked whether Thomas would be cooking Sunday and whether Mary Ann still remembered their room preferences. Patricia continued asking for Odessa's hospital corners and eventually learned Odessa's last name. Leah ordered a wooden panel for the entrance hall. The signmaker sent a proof headed the Mercer family, Bellwether, legacy. Leah rejected it. The second proof said Bellwether Guesthouse and listed the people responsible for reopening it. Leah Mercer, owner and innkeeper. Odessa Bell, housekeeping manager. Thomas Reed, breakfast manager. Mary Ann Cole, guest services and reservations manager. At the bottom, in smaller letters, it honored Evelyn Mercer, who had kept the door open for 34 years. Leah showed the proof at the dining table. Thomas objected first. "Breakfast manager makes me sound like I supervise toast." "You supervise me near eggs," Leah said. "That is public safety." Marianne wanted the years included. Odessa wanted her middle initial removed. "No one needs that much access to me," she said. Leah made the changes and ordered the panel from the repair account's small furnishings allowance, a category Marianne had insisted on creating after Leah tried to call everything a roof expense. When it arrived, Grant mounted it beside the river map. Camille came alone and brought a level, despite Grant already having one. The 4 bellwether workers stood in the entrance hall after the siblings left. No guests were present. There was no unveiling, ribbon, speech, or photographer. Thomas had made coffee. Marianne corrected a tiny tilt no one else could see. Odessa read the panel. "Evelyn's name should be at the top," she said. "It used to be," Leah replied. "These are the people running it now." Odessa looked at her own name beside Evelyn's. She would complain. About the order, about the font. Thomas handed her coffee. She would say her name looked thin. She always thought serif fonts made people respectable, Marianne said. They stood there longer than the sign required. That evening, 5 rooms were occupied. Loretta slept in 8 before a night shift. Walter and Nancy had returned to 7 for a spring anniversary after all. Dana and Beverly had taken room 1 and left wet boots on newspaper. A ferry contractor occupied 3. Patricia slept beneath Odessa's corners in 5. Breakfast prep waited in the kitchen. Laundry waited downstairs. 2 invoices waited behind the desk. Nothing waited to be discovered. The value of bellwether moved openly through the house. Wages deposited on time. Keys returned to hooks. Repaired pipes holding pressure. Names remembered. Rooms made ready by people who knew why each detail mattered. After the last check-in, Odessa found Leah at the registration desk. She placed her ring of brass keys on the wood. Leah looked down. The keys were worn smooth in places. One had a strip of faded blue tape. Another was marked "Pantry" in Evelyn's handwriting. Odessa had carried them back the morning after Grant and Camille took the cash. "You need these tomorrow," Leah said. "I had copies made. You should keep the originals. You know what every key does. So do you. I still confuse the west closet and the linen room deadbolt. Then stop doing that." Leah picked up the ring and held it toward her. Odessa did not take it. "Evelyn trusted you with these." "She did. She should have put your name on more than a schedule. She should have done many things." The keys rested between them. Leah thought of the first morning. Evelyn's raincoat over her pajamas, pots under the leaks. Odessa on the porch asking what kind of Mercer she intended to be. "You know this house better than I do," Leah said. Odessa closed Leah's fingers around the brass ring. Knowing a place is not the same as choosing responsibility for it. The keys were heavier than Leah expected. Upstairs, a floorboard sounded as a guest crossed room 7. In the kitchen, Earl clicked as Thomas tested tomorrow's burner. Marianne laughed at something near the office. Leah hung the master keys behind the desk beside her own. Then she turned on the brass lamp and opened the reservation book.